Yeah.
I'm sorry, say.
I'm unmuting for yours, so you're live.
Have we got anybody on?
No.
You know, we work from cities, so our variable rates are a lot lower than what a lot of lawyers want to make.
Oh, yeah. Maybe.
So,
I'm gonna call to order, guys. We're ready.
Yes.
Roll call.
Member Clayton Dignam?
Here.
Sorry, I'm not familiar with everybody, so Dawn Bennett is not here, right?
He's the one who advised you.
Okay. Member Taha Saleh?
Present.
Member Alexander Reed Crave?
I think he mentioned he couldn't make it.
Yeah, he had 2 days and we had,
Yeah.
got him or got Tom, so I took mercy on that and made Tom come.
Member Tom O'Sullivan?
Here.
Member Scott Bowler?
Present.
Chairman Greg Shelton?
Present.
Alternate member Blaine Smotherman?
He's gonna excuse that.
Yeah, he's on excused leave.
Okay. And then alternate member Jacob Vallejo?
And I would like to note for the record that the city attorney, Julie,
Lou.
Lou, that's right. I'm sorry, I'm so bad at names. And we have some members in the audience. You guys want to list your name for the record?
Grant Wagner.
Diane Wagner. Karen Anderson.
Yes, okay. What we're gonna do first, we're gonna have oral communications. Because I know you came here to probably say something, so I'm gonna take notes here, and then if it goes smooth with me, we'll have another oral communications at the end. As long as everybody's respectful. So would anybody like to start out?
No, I think Norman has something to say. Good evening, members of the Charter Review Committee.
Diane Wagner, right?
Yes. What is the role of this committee? Is it simply to advance what the city council asks for, or is it independently review, question, and evaluate proposed charter changes before they move forward? If the committee's role is only to carry out council direction, then why is this committee so large? Why bring together people with different perspectives, professional backgrounds, and lived experience if independent judgment is not part of the job? Or is the committee's purpose to serve as a filter? To ask whether what is being proposed is not just desired by council, but whether it truly represents the best interests of the city and its residents now and in the future. How should we understand this work in the context of the city's 100-year charter anniversary? Anniversaries are meant to honor what has worked, systems that provided stability, professionalism, and public trust. So what problem are we trying to solve by shifting authority away from the city manager and toward elected officials? And how does that change strengthen governance rather than weaken it? Aren't checks and balances a feature of good government, not an obstacle? They exist to protect the city from political pressure, favoritism, and abrupt shifts in direction. Does concentrating more power in fewer hands align with the spirit of a charter designed to endure for a century? So my final question is this. Will this committee act as an independent steward of the charter or as a procedural step for decisions already made elsewhere? Because honoring a 100-year charter means more than celebrating its age. It means protecting the principles that made it work. And I've submitted some stuff for the record for this meeting to Lori. Thank you.
Very eloquent and to the point. I'm not gonna answer it right now, but I might answer it later. So anybody else got anything to say? Yeah.
No, I don't.
All right. We only have like one item, don't we, pretty much?
Pretty much.
Okay, review of city council identified amendments to the city charter and regarding discussion and review regarding city council identified amendments to the city charter, including potential development of ballot. You want to state your name for the record, sir?
Pardon me?
You want to state your name for the record?
Wade Southwick.
Wait. All right, so I'm gonna try to actually try to answer Ms. Wagner's, questions by the way that we run this meeting. Our goal was to take ideas from the city and then run them through a filter and then take them back and then they brought them back to us. I'm trying to make them better. It's a voluntary committee that's overseen by them. So we were not vested with finding the answers. We were vested with trying to make them I guess, more palatable or fine tune them. And that's what I intend to do. I'm an oversight committee. I'm not a committee that sets direction and stuff. That being said, I think we all think, believe that we're being something lacking. I'm certainly not. So some of these things I have opinions on, and but I'm just one vote, and we're gonna see what's gonna happen right now. And maybe later we'll have another discussion, just the party debate among us. Anyway, Madam Attorney, since this is all your stuff, you know.
Yeah, so I know we were all, I think almost everybody, maybe not Tom, but I think you and several of us were
Happening.
at the meeting.
Oh,
So
I'm sure Tom.
I don't, if I am remembering something not correct, please feel free to jump in.
You know, I tell you that.
I know you will. So my understanding was they narrowed it down from the 7 that they had been talking about.
10, I
After
think.
there were 10, and they're down to 4, I think now.
4 now?
Four, yeah.
6. Down.
Well, it was 7 and then it went down to 4 because they basically decided to not pursue a few of them. Mostly it was the expenditure, like the city council member compensation ones. There were 2, those got removed. They removed the residency requirement one only because that can be dealt with, I think, in
Well, I think you told me
by law.
basically it's against the law.
Well, we can't just do a city limit requirement,
Yeah.
right? That's actually in the Constitution, we cannot do
Right.
that. So, so they did leave. So there was a handful that were left that they wanted us, and they did give some guidance, and we can go through one at a time. And I tried to put it within here what I recalled had happened. So if there's anything different that you guys remember or something in addition, just let me know. So, for instance, the first one is voter ID for local elections. So, so that one got some interesting legal stuff happening in the background on it. In fact, stuff happening as recent as last week on it. So,
Yeah.
and there's going to be more stuff that happens probably in the next couple weeks on this. So, they are proposing to implement, add into the charter some language that would require voter identification. The city of Huntington Beach is in the middle of a fight on
Right.
this as we speak. So they put it into their charter about a year and a half ago,
Right.
and it was voted in. However, there was a state law then enacted. I think it's elections code 10,005 or 1,005. But at any rate, that basically doesn't allow that. So then it went to court.
Mm,
And the courts upheld the state law and said you couldn't do it. They appealed. It went to the state Supreme Court, and the state Supreme Court just last week had basically denied review of it. The lower court implemented its ruling finding that it was in fact illegal for them to have that charter provision. So now they are appealing to the US Supreme Court, but the chances of the US Supreme Court taking it could be fairly slim. I mean, they typically are very slim even on a good day. So that's a big if. The other issue that's out there is that there is a voter initiative that has already got enough signatures theoretically to qualify. They still have to be checked. So they'll find out probably mid-February whether or not that is going to be eligible for
How
the
many
ballot.
over the required did they get?
It's quite a bit. It's like, I think there was I can't remember they're over 1 million. And I want to say the threshold was around 800,000.
Yeah, so even if you 10%.
So, so maybe even less than 800,000. I can't remember now, 600 and almost 700, or if it was 800. So anyways, but it's, they're well over.
Okay.
So, that will probably be on the ballot. There seems to be early indication that there might be support for that in California. You'll just have to see. If that were to go through, that changes the state constitution. We don't need this if that happens, because that will basically, now you could still put this in. There's still potentially, because even if say it doesn't pass, but the US Supreme Court takes the case, well, now you've got the potential for local, jurisdictions to be able to go ahead and adopt it.
Right.
So it's just, we're in this sort of, but notwithstanding all that, the council did want to go forward with it, right? So I worked on language to try to do that.
I'm sorry.
Well, and it's,
So
yeah.
isn't there a federal, isn't this being worked on federally? That's what the federal law is.
14 states are trying to do it right.
Well, a
Oh,
lot of
why
states, so the states are trying to add to the constitution. The problem is nothing is happening in the legislature, and I don't really expect that to get into in the federal legislature, and I don't expect that to get better. It's gonna get worse, because right now is when they theoretically have majority of
Right.
houses, and that's probably gonna change in
So
November.
basically,
Yeah.
the only use for this one is to have it just in case.
This would be, it would
Just in
not,
case.
right, and it's interesting because, I mean, the state is trying to prevent you from even quote enacting. I think that that's a stretch. I mean, and so I've added a lot of qualifying language. So if this were to go, we could do it with qualifying language. Which, by the way, I was gonna recommend so that we don't have to make this meeting like 3 hours talking about language, because I know that's just, exactly what you don't wanna do.
Yeah.
If you guys, once we get through all these, if there's ones that you want us to massage language wise, if you want, you can just have me and Alex work on it together, and then Alex can bring it back to you guys. At the
I
next
really wanted Alex to be here. I wanted
Me too.
to have some blood. I
Me
wanted to have some
too.
blood sport is what I wanted
Me
to
too.
have.
Well, I know, I appreciate that, because I've always had at least one other lawyer on the committee.
Mhm.
And that is always the way it's worked. It's never been just
He
me.
wanted to be here. He
Never
wanted
been
to
just
be
me ever. It's always been a lot of opinions and sometimes maybe too many opinions, which is why
here.
like.
But what happened last night?
Yeah. So, but anyway, so
And I apologize, I haven't read a lot of this,
That's okay.
but it is what you have here, barring any, review from Alex, good enough.
I think it's good enough. I think I've already got, this is not a hard one. It's just a very questionable one.
Mm.
And so, I mean, we can put something in that says it just won't either become operative or it won't be considered
Yeah,
enacted.
just preface it that.
Unless allowed by law, basically. That's all it says. And it's very, very simple, very basic. You would need to adopt, you can adopt other regulations in your ordinance to implement it. It doesn't need to be super wordy. It already is small. So this one I think is, I don't know that you need to do a whole lot on it, but as is noted by the public, if you have your opinions about it, I'm sure council would want to hear.
Well,
So,
I don't really.
or, well, I'm sure council will hear them whether they want.
Well, what I don't want to do is I don't want a big paper chase. If it's
Yeah.
not gonna work, or it's a moot point, then I don't want to belabor it. And when we have other ones that have a better chance of passing. So if you think it's good enough, have you guys read this? Have you got any?
Yeah, I've read it all. It sounds like sounds like very little, it's not worth the squeeze. The juice ain't worth the squeeze is what it
Okay.
sounds like. Cause
Gotcha.
there's a state referendum that's gonna do that. There's a general energy that people are okay with this. Does it need to be our city doing this and the state not do it? It sounds like there's a referendum, right? There's a prop coming up, right?
Yeah, potentially there's a proposition
Well,
that it's actually an initiative would add language into the constitution, basically into the state constitution requiring voter ID.
Even that could be.
Well, and that's the other thing, good point. And I didn't even mention that, just I was trying to keep it short, but yes, if it's approved, it will be challenged.
So I got a lower court, a
So-
Supreme Court, and an ordinance that said
Yeah.
it's not gonna go. And I got a referendum that's gonna come up that they may or may not pass, but even if they do, it's under review by the Supreme Court.
Right.
It seems like we'll do what the council wants us to do, but I don't want to spend a bunch of time on this. Because again, it seems like a lot of work that
Yeah.
should be for naught.
But are they looking for recommendations from the committee?
They're looking for recommendations on any change, on basically, they're basically sending it to you guys to get them sort of the legislation finalized. And then measure language obviously developed, which will probably need to, and I brought your guys' list too from before.
Right.
Obviously, with the direction they've given, there'll need to be changes made to the measure language just to because they did make some, big changes to kind of how they're going about those particular measures. But that can be, I think the best way to do this is frankly, I think, and granted, you guys can do it how you want to do it, but I think it's better to start. Let's get the law figured out. Then you figure out what you need in your measure to describe it, because the measure passes the law. So you have to have your law kind of what you want it to be. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do it the other way, because then you're trying to craft it's great to have a good idea. Like it gave you guys the ideas, but then now we're at the point where we're really trying to refine them.
So council specifically is not asking us for a recommendation to include or remove any of the?
No, these were the ones they wanted you to work on. They had my recommendations, although they were kind of, by the time they got to it, had been a very long meeting, so.
Yeah.
They had my recommendations and I had already tried to kind of frame some of these things. So I tried to get them to kind of give me some guidance on at the end to.
To make it look like we did something, do you wanna just say, shall the citizens of, come up with a
Yeah, I think it would be good, like, what I can do, this is, and this can be like homework between now and the next time. So again, I can put the language together, send it over to Alex. Alex is gonna love it that he wasn't here today to.
No, I'm gonna hate that
We can
you
volunteer
got
for it.
volunteer, that's what he's gonna hate.
But we could go ahead, I could send it to him, and then he can take that, and then based on that, you guys can work on language at your next meeting.
Well-
On it if you want, or if you want my help, I can help too.
Which is, we can knock.
Yeah, and I think the language can be pretty simple.
Yeah.
If we make it so, and we make it explain,
This would be very simple,
if the law changes, we're gonna do this, and if it changes that we can't do it, we're not gonna be able to do it, so.
yeah.
But do you want us to have it in our charter?
You want us, just to show the council that we didn't blow it off, let's loose up, shall the citizens of Porterville, allow.
You want something?
Something.
I've got something, but
Homework.
I've already got something.
Well, I would rather get it done tonight and have something. I gotta knock it out in one meeting. We don't have to have an extra meeting. Shall the citizens of Porterville.
Baja's got some.
Yeah.
I've got two sides. I've got the one
Go
where
ahead.
like we want to pass or the one where we don't want to.
You wrote both opinions. You were together.
He wrote both measures, both proposed measures,
Yeah.
one for and one against.
What I have, shall the voter identification for municipal election. This is gonna be obviously missing the sub, it's
Yeah.
now, but it's like, shall the city charter be amended to require reasonable voter identification in municipal elections as provided by ordinance and consistent with applicable law in order to protect the integrity of local elections and strengthen public confidence in the voting process.
I think that's good.
Yeah, that sounds good.
My only question is, and this is going a little backwards and then I'll stop.
Mhm.
You did mention there's a state referendum that even if it passed, am I getting it right?
No, so
State-
if the initiative is actually to approve it,
Yeah,
but there probably will be legal, what always happens with those is when you have an initiative is then there's a legal challenge, especially when it's a contentious issue.
would it be
like-
challenged the same way this would be challenged?
Yep, the same way, it would be the inverse of
that
what's
would be
happening
okay,
with
this would be
Huntington
okay.
Beach. So,
So if that initiative language change went through, then our.
And it wasn't challenged, it would go in quickly.
Yeah.
If it's challenged, it could drag
there
out for
could be a
years.
stay on being able to
Yeah,
enforce
the
and
same way
actually
this is.
enforce our law until we have clarity in.
Then we wouldn't need one.
Yeah.
I think, and my question is why, the question I propose to the council, why even do this? If there's
So
a.
because if at any point in the future it becomes legal, you now have it in your charter and you're able to do it.
Right.
So it sits there as a dormant charter provision and it says
It may come back, the
Got it,
decision may
got
come
it.
back
Right.
that, not that the state says you can do it, but the state says, hey, look, we're out of it. If you want to do it, you can. Right?
Yeah.
If your municipality wants to, you can.
And this can happen every
And
year.
I didn't write it so that it is like facially valid. I wrote it so that it's only valid if the law allows. it.
Right, and
Right.
the city can do this every 2 years.
So, the city can always go back and review charter revisions at any point, and the community can, propose, there is a provision in constitutional law that allows citizens of your city, if they don't like things that are passed, to bring their own initiatives.
But
Get them on the
they
ballot.
go to voters every election, which is every 2 years.
It would be you're right, every 2 years.
Unless we're gonna pay for a special.
So, and well, I don't know about initiatives, for city-driven changes, there's certain kinds have to be done during your regular election.
Okay,
Anything affecting money, for instance, or taxes.
and every single one we put on there costs a certain amount of money. It's not just,
Yeah.
it's not just like, hey, it's a la carte, so every initiative, whether it's 5 or 2, costs.
So I believe Fernando, when he asked, it was like 26 grand a measure.
Yeah,
Per measure.
and it's really the printing cost, and I think the special election was like 100 grand.
So the question is, if.
No, it's the ballot measure, it's the fact that you need space for an impartial opinion, it's the fact you have to have, they have to, and then it's the administration by the county of all these things, and then there's arguments for, against, and rebuttals.
So $26,000 for something we may not need.
That is true.
That's been argument.
Something we can wait till 2028, well, we're gonna put it either,
Look, this is what I came.
That's it, that's all I got to say.
That's what I came up to say that we did something. Shall the citizens of Porter require voters to provide eligible or identification in order to vote in municipal election, providing that said actions are allowed by law?
So that's basically, so you two, he had language too. Yours is actually the straightforward. It's frankly the one that I think is probably the less subject to challenge, because yours is a little bit more, hey, why we're doing it, but you can do that. You can put the intent in. People may disagree with whether or not that's what it actually does, which
We
is
talked about
what
this.
then gives you a challenge, but yours was very direct. So either one, you guys can decide.
Well, can we put them both in there?
I don't, I'm just, yeah.
Yeah, and you can let the city council
And let
decide.
the city council
Yeah.
decide.
I like that you guys have.
I think.
You have them ready to go. You don't have them right here?
I've had a busy week.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Normally
I'm glad
I would have worked on it this week, in my free time. I haven't had a lot
It's
of.
a busy week that Clayton will have it done for us when we get here.
No, I want to be like Clayton.
I like to be prepared. I like to be ready, and I normally
You wanna
would.
work for free? Is that what you wanna do? Because that's.
I just took being on this committee with Clayton, it just helped me
Do
raise my
you
bar.
want to make a motion to
Yes.
formalize that you're gonna send both the proposed language that you guys. are
And let them,
proposing to
and if they
council
wanna tweak it and expand upon it, or
with-
it's
And then
not
with
good
language that Alex and I agree on
Yeah.
the thing.
Where are they sending them to, Alex? So,
Well, she's gonna send her legalese to Alex. This is just the, to me, I call it the preamble, but it's just the
It's
basic.
your measure language.
There we go.
You guys are doing, you have alternate measure language to give to the council with the refined section as approved between Alex and I.
Yeah.
to be
But if you
recommended.
if you can't get it out, I hope Alex got time. I mean, but
I've already got it written,
So
so.
you said-
Yes.
So, well, my website
You
is,
guys
have
probably-
something written.
yeah, but we need,
So,
this is now included in that, so someone needs to record that for us. If we're sending it. to
Whatever you need. Yeah.
so with that, to move things along, I will make a motion that we accept both of your
Yeah.
versions to be sent to the council for their review. And then they can decide if they want the simple language because they think yours is
Sure.
faulty or
My
not. faulty,
motion
that's
is
the
to
wrong word.
accept these two and push.
Yeah, and is there anybody got any other language you like better? I'm open to them.
I think it needs to be simple for the voters. I don't think it needs to be some long drawn out thing.
Well, we can't say who did them, because we say who did them.
You can tell them who's in them.
It's being, yeah, they're gonna know.
We will have the language.
They're gonna know, yeah. So it's relatively simple.
Okay, man.
When they watch the meeting, yeah, I say we submit both, and let me, we had, and like you said, I was there, and when they said that they implied that we were gonna write the language, and I said I didn't feel comfortable writing legal language because I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah.
And I portray one on TV, but I'm not a lawyer. And so therefore, I feel more comfortable just doing the overview, of that and let you guys write.
Sure, and that's fine. I mean, I'm not expecting you guys to write the language of the charter revision,
I hope
the
not.
sections either. No.
Moving on to number 2.
Right.
Well,
But
there's a motion on the table
Oh, yeah.
that hasn't been seconded. It hasn't.
I
been
second the motion.
motion. Okay,
all right, call for the vote. Sorry.
Member Clayton Dignam,
I,
member Chaha Saleh,
This is to approve, move this
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
Nay.
And move them, you're gonna not move, you wanna get your own measure? Go ahead.
they have every right to do that. Yeah.
No, we need just 3 votes.
You got
We
it.
need a
Don't worry.
majority.
I'm saying, I would abstain just to mess with him, but.
member Tom O'Sullivan,
I,
member Scott Bowler.
Aye.
Chairman Greg Shaw.
1, 2, 3.
4-1.
We're one.
All right.
You abstain.
Okay, let's like Tuesday nights, baby.
You abstain?
All right. So the next one.
Did you get what I said down? Or did you?
I'll forward it.
that's what
Yeah,
I
it
was
would
asking.
be helpful to forward it. I believe we're recording, so hopefully we can hear it, but I know there were when you were reading yours, I know there was another conversation going, so we might not have. Yeah, you want to read into the record?
Yeah, read the record.
Yeah.
And then you can refer that or not read.
Let me make sure I get the right version. Voter identification for municipal elections. Shall the city charter be amended to require reasonable voter identification in municipal elections as provided by ordinance and consistent with applicable law in order to protect the integrity of local elections and strengthen public confidence in the voting process?
Editorial.
Yeah. That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all right, I'll do mine. Shall the citizens of Porterville require voters to provide adequate identification in order to vote in municipal elections, providing that said actions are allowed by law?
There we go.
There we go.
So the next one, the bad news is this is probably the hardest one tonight. Good news is everything else should hopefully be a little bit easier after that. This one and the election, or it's not selection, just because they're more complicated with regard to the language and they kind of have to be, unfortunately. So, okay, so this is the city self-performance for repair and maintenance work. So what they ended up, my understanding again of the direction from the city council, which was actually what I was recommending, because I feel like this is an area I would love to see 61 cleaned up. And I think that we can do that with the major changes. It's gonna, to me, this is a powerful measure if it passes for the city.
Okay.
It's impactful, but it may have, it may not pass, right?
Yeah.
And then, so that's the issue, right? So, so this had to do with, especially right now, our big example of this is our street work. It is under general law, it gets very complicated as to what is maintenance versus what is actual capital improvement to
Right.
your streets. It kind of unnecessarily so in my opinion, but that's just my opinion.
Is that
So
because what's an improvement, it's prevailing?
how much asphalt, blah, 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 blah. And so, and right, right. It's what triggers us having to contract out versus what we can do
Oh,
in-house.
Is that number low?
And-
Well, too low?
Yeah, essentially the number's low and it's been low for a long
Right,
time.
and keep in mind, there was explicit direction from the council not to raise the bid threshold.
Really?
So, which is,
Was,
Right.
clarify, just, was that for this specific measure or was that for the one that basically any project or anything?
I
Sure.
understood any measure.
We need all of them.
That
Wow.
being said, so this is the one where I have the most sort of recommendations on how to handle this, because it helped me at least to know that, because not knowing that made this one really confusing, because it was hard to figure out
It's
how
kind
to,
of like the self-performance one, isn't it? How they kind of tied together?
they're tied together. 61 covers both bid thresholds and self-performance. So I needed to know what they want to do in order to know how to go forward, because if I don't, it becomes, talk about confusing the voters. They
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
what they're approving, and I don't want that to be the reason something doesn't pass. So, so this is, given where they are, they want to broaden their ability to do things with in-house forces,
Sure.
which is a charter city's right if it is in their charter.
Yeah.
Okay? If
And
you
I think
give
you said
yourself
it's
that
not-
power.
It's not on our charter. and it
Right
just strengthens
now,
our case.
it is so convoluted, it is almost impossible to tell what is and isn't, considered a public work and subject to the
Yeah.
bid stuff. By virtue of just 61 has just been around forever, and it just kind of, it almost looks like it was an add-on, like people kept adding on to it at the point,
Trying to
even
fix
back,
it.
well before all of us were. So at any rate. So I went ahead and put the whole thing in just so you could see it. I'm not gonna read it, but it's there. But you can see why it's just crazy. It tries to describe specific works, and some are exempt and some aren't, and some are except for this. It's like an exemption. It's crazy. So I would recommend that we redo that one. And
Like write a whole new.
turn to the next page, write a whole new 61.
So,
Yeah.
so looking at
Have
that,
one? Do you have something already?
1971 to today, the bid threshold would be today, that would be equivalent to a $40,000 number.
Yeah,
I was
but
gonna-
they don't want to touch it.
I was gonna say.
I know, but I'm just saying, if all we tracked was inflation in California alone, that would change. It's about $8 for what $1 used to be.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So you're looking at,
They don't want to touch.
But I'm just saying, I'm not saying that, I'm saying.
Okay,
It's not solved.
here's what we do.
I would like to too, and if you guys.
Much like we did in number one, let's give them three thresholds
Yeah,
and let them pick the
But-
threshold.
well, yeah, let them pick the,
and that's fine. Whatever, and
we-
whatever that is, no, they don't want us to touch the $5,000 threshold.
That's what, but you're asking.
Yeah.
to give them.
but we can set, what we can propose is, like, for example, we track inflation. Based on inflation.
Yeah.
The committee thinks that today's dollar should be
I'm with you.
40,000,
I'm with you
right?
guys.
And then another one is, the other one is we don't touch it, and then a third one is we figure out some other measure to compare it
So you
to.
could go to, you could default to general law.
Yeah, so default to general law. So there's three
So-
good options that they can look at and go, oh, you know what?
Pretty good.
We didn't
I
think
was
about
talking
this.
numbers, but I like your formula. Okay, it's more
I'll let them
important.
choose between the three.
Yeah, because I think, I mean, just for me, either go with the general law or track inflation, because it's 1971. If this was, I don't know, 2020, 2015, but even then, I wouldn't be so inclined to be like, well, they don't want to change it. All right, I know that there's been a change, but not an 800% change.
It hasn't changed at all. It's
No,
been
well-
5,000 for as long, I mean.
No, I mean the inflation.
Oh,
I'm saying
inflation,
we're-
yeah.
I wouldn't be recommending it if it was only a few years.
Now, I can remember voting on some of these measures, and I don't think it's about, whether or not, because the same thing happened when we talked about raising it from
It's not
$5,000
even
to
in the law.
$10,000.
It wasn't technically on,
Got it.
for discussion.
Got it.
No, no, no.
So, okay, so we'll get to that. So bid threshold, let's just put that on pause for a second. I can tell you what I am doing. Because what I did do was I basically am trying to invoke the charter, like the full power of what a charter city can do under this section. So, given their direction to make this as broad as possible, I would change 61 to be a local control of public work and purchasing section. And basically says, except as provided by city ordinance or agreement approved by the council, Porterville will have, as a charter city, is exempt from the requirements of the California Public Contracts Code and from requirements of other California statutes regulating city public contracting and purchasing. This exemption shall not prohibit the city from subsequently adopting any section, article, chapter, or part of the Public Contracts Code in whole or in part for the city's own use. So, and that's how it works. The city can, where you have your local control rights, you can invoke them, but then you can choose to follow, sections of city law if you want. If you're silent, generally, then the default city general law will apply. With it,
And that-
if you didn't cover it.
What does the general law say in that?
The general law, it says a lot. I mean, it basically, if general law, the general law here would basically say that, I mean, it would really heavily regulate it tells you what you can and cannot contract. Which, for a city our size, we can have forces that are qualified to do work. You shouldn't have to, but that's just the way it's just the way California law has developed. So it'll mandate, your bid thresholds aren't just necessarily bid thresholds, they're contracting thresholds. And to me, that's different than a bid threshold. A bid threshold is just what is it that when, at what amount of money in a contract you have to go out and do a formal advertising.
Yeah.
Versus less formal measures. To me, a contract threshold is basically saying, I don't care if you have somebody qualified at the city. If it's over $5,000, you gotta contract out and do it. And
And that's how it is
that's what
now?
we've been dealing with right
That's
now
how it is now.
to a certain degree. Now we've got an argument under our current charter for streets, which is why we've been doing streets. I want that cleaned up personally. I think it can be, I don't like the ambiguity. I think that we do, yes, would continue to make that argument, but I think it would be better and we'd be in a stronger position. Not only on streets, but I'm trying to actually give by virtue the ability to do this for other things too. We can't do work that we're not qualified to do, but this way we can provide it, the city can, if it has the ability to do it, it's able to do it.
So it's not gonna give the city permission to go spend $5 million on all these machines.
No, and that's the thing. So, well, I mean, that would be through budgetary, right? You'd have to have the money to spend. You're right. I mean, yes, those have their own safeguards and processes, but you gotta have the money to do it. You're right.
That's not doing that. That's not
No.
affecting that. Okay.
Yeah, but what they do is they just do $5,000 on one, they break up, which is really kind of against the law. They
Well, you
just-
can't do that,
I
right?
know, but
Yeah.
but it gets done.
So for the public, they're talking about like pothole, we're not talking about redoing streets, we're talking about potholes and.
We're talking about giving the city the ability not only and you're right. I mean, normally we would not be doing, like, if we are actually rebuilding a street, there are certain qualifications for that. So
Yeah, so like
we have
what
to
happened on Main Street, that had to go to another company.
That's not,
Yeah.
so so for the public.
But this would give if you hired somebody that has those expertise, then yeah, you could potentially do things
Yeah,
in-house.
so like if you're looking at Main Street, they ripped up everything and they put new water lines and new sewer lines and all of that stuff.
Okay,
Right.
What we want to do is be able to do, well, our water department has the ability to put the pipe in place.
okay.
So we
That's a
will
really good
save money,
example.
we will save money if we do that. Our sewer department has the ability to run the sewer lines. We don't need this third party.
Especially if it's a really,
Right.
say you have like a break and you want to just repair something.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, it's very possible that under our current charter, you would have to go and contract that out.
But in the emergency
It takes time, you can, yes.
There are some
yeah,
exemptions, but it's.
Maybe that wasn't the best example,
Yeah.
but say you have like or something just goes bad and I mean, you want to be able to not have to invoke all those. You just do it because you have. the
Yourself can be a lot less than having to contract it out and all the ballooning costs of that.
Yeah, like an annexed area, right? It
Got it.
doesn't have sewer lines or doesn't have water lines. We'd be able to go in and put those in ourselves and then they'd have the ability to, and we wouldn't have to be going to a third
Okay.
party to do it.
So the other thing this would do is it would give you the ability to use alternative types of contracting like design build, which can be very useful for creative projects. And sometimes there are other mechanisms you can utilize and you need to put those in your charter if you want to do it. And we can, if it was to go in the charter.
Okay.
So that's in here as well. And it does give, it basically says we have the power to perform any work of improvement, replacement, repair, or maintenance. So it could be anything. just because we have the power doesn't mean we don't have, that we can do it, because we still have to have a qualification.
Yeah.
That's-
So what-
Yeah, like we're not gonna send
Certified.
we're not gonna send the city electrician to go do the electrical work at the community.
So theoretically, I don't know, you're not an architect, Julia, but a great example is the library and design build.
Right,
Oh, God.
we could have done that as design build, which we
Huge
actually,
advantage for the city.
right,
Yes.
So
exactly.
what's the percent of local businesses that have been getting these bids?
The issue is a lot of the, like the larger things where you see the big companies coming is we don't have local contractors with the capability to do what we
Yeah.
need in the time frame that it needs to be done and that kind of stuff. And it's, you can't expect a local company that they would, hey, we got this bid, now we gotta hire 30 employees to meet this bid, and then we're gonna just lay them off once that job's over.
So the
So-
majority of the bids we get are
But
from,
what you're bringing up is a good point, because this is another area that is heavily, if you're in general law city territory and you're following general laws, you're heavily restricted on the ability to use, like, to have local preferences. Under a charter provision like this would also open the door to, at least the extent you're legally able to. There are still some issues with that in a lot of circumstances. However, there have been, in fact, San Francisco has been, of all places, has been on top of this, because they recognized that they had, it's very expensive to live in San Francisco, very expensive to be in that area and be working. And so they actually invoked a local preference to account for the fact that taxes are so expensive in their city. So they were able to kind of so there are ways to do it, but you still, they're a charter city too. You have to actually allow that.
We need to get this charter.
Under general law, again, so I'm trying to get us out from under the restrictions
Let's get out.
of the, yeah. So I've written it really broadly for that
Yeah.
reason, but
Okay.
what's not in here yet is a bid threshold. Under this, we would also be able to set our own bid threshold. I don't think that is probably a killer. I think that if we have that.
Could there be a bid threshold as well? Like, I don't recall them ever not choosing a local contractor that came in with a low bid, right?
Well, if they come up with a low bid, they're gonna
Right,
choose them,
so,
yeah, for
but what
sure.
I'm saying is, okay, the local contractor comes in at, I don't know, 3% over the low bid. It's out of the area,
Mhm.
having a threshold for that, because I think what'll happen is if we go, hey, we're gonna choose local contractors will, okay, well, hey, we got 10% we can add.
So under
Yeah,
the
but the
law,
other- the
so under-
flip side of that is, there could be a local contractor that we have a very deep experience with, and he may not, or she may not qualify.
Yeah.
A way to do that is, I think, with a point system, if you bid and everyone's from out of town and he bids, and half of his subs are local, it no longer, doesn't have to be about
I like
dollars and
that.
cents.
Yes. I
Right.
So
like
there's
that.
more than one way, but
Yeah,
I don't think you want to set it up where
Yeah, it's a straight.
it's.
yeah.
well, and what I'm saying
Their
is,
hands are
no, I
tied.
don't want to set it up. What I want to do is give some flexibility
Yeah.
to say, if these things come in and they're off by a little bit, we don't necessarily have to go with the low bid.
Yeah,
So,
well,
so it lays groundwork for that. I know that, for instance, I can tell you, another charter city that I represent actually has it in their charter. Now, that they are able to take take things into consideration. And so including those things, I mean, it's not just local, it's also, if could be experience, expertise.
but aren't there some projects that are mandated that you have to take competitive bids?
Yeah, I mean, there are. Anything the grant funded is anything that's not utilizing local funds is gonna be subject to the requirements of the procurement of the funding agency.
When I was on council, I sat on the contractors appeal board, and I did one case, and what it was is we had a local guy. And he didn't get a bid because his bid was considered non-competitive because he made a boo-boo and he appealed it. But when I talked to our city engineer, he kind of told me this kind of intangibly, talk like that. I work with this guy, Greg. He always does this, he does that, and I didn't give him, a chance to appeal because it didn't meet the qualifications. But there are intangibles when you have contractors that continually kind of violate the spirit of the contract. It gets really expensive. They underbid it and then they submit a bunch of change orders. So you gotta have
Yeah,
some.
and we've gotten very creative in how we try to handle that. And so
Yeah.
again, having this here would give us a lot more opportunities to kind of do these things, but and actually this charter city I'm talking about that I've done this, it has those provisions that allow them greater flexibility in how they choose. They also, because of that their charter provision, they have adopted more extensive, what we call responsibility requirements, because it's we award to the the most responsive, the lowest responsive, responsible.
Qualified.
So it's responsive and responsibility, right?
Yeah.
So responsibility
Very subjective.
is what we do with responsibility is we have a questionnaire and they have to give us a lot of information about their experience. And so,
So they use past experience with them too, isn't it?
Huh? like they have to provide, we can say, look, you need to have 3 municipal contracts that you can give us references on that is this similar to this kind of work.
Can we also use past experiences?
Yeah, if you've been debarred or if you had an issue or if you got excessive change orders, I just added that actually today
Did you?
to another procurement. Basically said it, in what projects have you had, change orders in excess of 5% and explain why.
Yeah.
So you can kind of, and what that does a couple things. Number one, it does give you some more basis to your responsibility.
Yeah.
The other thing it does is it provides a disincentive to those that have had problems and they see the writing on the wall.
Yeah, they say that,
So
let
they
us
use
know.
So there's a couple different reasons why you do that, but again, that all comes back to what do you have here? And so I tried to write this as broadly as possible.
Do you like the language you've written?
I like it. I think that it is a big change. Like I said, I like it because I'm looking at it from my perspective. That maybe voters may not like it, right?
Let me look at it, then I did a little talk right here. The current 5,000 threshold to trigger a competitive bid process for a capital project was established in 1971. An acknowledgement that this amount is unrealistic in the current economic atmosphere reality, shall the citizens of Porterville vote to allow the threshold amount to be changed to another amount that is to be established by city council. Yeah, I know. Well, showing it up for me. I'm trying to preface it, it's like, why do we want to change this? Well, it's something like Clayton said, it's 1970, it's 29, it's 55 years, you know what I mean? I guess I could say the current threshold is 55
Can
years
you do
old.
that, state it later? You have to
You
actually-
can set it by ordinance.
So that's another
And
question.
that gives the councils, not just this council, but the councils
Right.
flexibility.
It gives them a
So
lot of
10 years,
flexibility.
they can say, hey, we're gonna adjust this for inflation
We're
now.
gonna drop it, we're gonna raise it up, whatever we want
Yeah,
to do.
exactly.
What I was going with is, or they can pick one of your alternatives, like it shall be set at the average mean cost plus 8 or whatever the hell they do that when they talk about something.
Yeah,
I mean.
it could have a threshold that automatically just goes up. Consistent with
Mhm.
some
Has
measure.
anybody got anything better?
No, I mean, the question I want to ask is, how much of this needs to be in the charter and how much of it's gonna be?
Well, okay, so
So what is it? Because they're talking about, my understanding is they're talking about local control of the road. That's what they want to be. They want a position as, we want.
right, so there's two, we're mixing our kind of apples and oranges because I think the bid threshold is. So 61, if we change it, obviously, we have to do something with the bid threshold because it's in there. So I think that my original idea was we rewrite 61 and we have a separate measure for the bid threshold, but then they decided they didn't want to do the bid threshold. So then I was just gonna add it back in to 61. So
What
that
do you
it's
think
clear
of-
that we're keeping it the same, which might help you get this passed because otherwise people may, because they're like,
Well,
oh, there's still a bid threshold for contracts that go out.
I'm gonna send it back to the
So-
council and let them see how
How would
really
they wanna do it?
strongly they feel about keeping this threshold. And that's why I left it open.
Yeah.
No, we don't want it, this, Mr. Shelton, we're gonna keep it 5,000. Okay, I just said, here's an alternative, and it's acknowledging what you said, Clayton. It's been 55 years and $5,000 ain't five
So I'll tell you what the
grand.
general law says, just so you guys have an idea. So if you don't have anything in your charter, and you are set, you're still stuck with $5,000, which I think is interesting. That's, but what they've done, that they've adopted this alternative, it's the Uniform Cost Accounting, blah, 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 blah Act. I can't remember exactly. And I'm sorry, I had it all in my staff report that went to council, but I took it out since for this one. But, so that under that, they allow you to, the bid limit is, or the formal bid threshold is like at $75,000. And they allow you to basically increase it every year by the CPI, and that
That's what
avoids
you
the
said.
problem that you're talking about. So, and that's where formal bidding is required. They have under that, and I can't remember the exact range, but under that, there's an informal process that's allowed. And then under that is like, they give you up to $25,000 that you don't have to.
But what I'm running against here is the
Right.
council doesn't want any of that.
Right,
They
well,
want
and the
5,000.
problem with the general law is that comes with strings attached. So they require you to follow their processes. It totally eliminates the whole local preference idea. Okay, because they make it, you can keep lists of like pre-qualified, but you have to follow set rules on that. You have to follow accounting rules, which we probably already follow anyways. And because honestly, a lot of with any of our procurement, state and federal procurements, we are having to follow all of their requirements plus our bid threshold. right now, because we have to follow both.
It's a whole bunch.
Whatever the most restrictive is.
We were like, head was spinning.
Right.
Well,
So
you like what you've written.
I do. And I didn't just pull, I mean, I went and
No,
looked at other cities.
I've read it. It looks okay. So what I'm gonna do right here to move this thing along, is to, do you guys like,
What does she write?
It's right here.
It's right here.
It's in here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's on the next page.
Okay.
So if you go to, if you go to, and I'm sorry, I should have put page numbers on my.
I know it's weird. I'm having a problem.
Local control, right? Is it this whole?
Yeah, local
Yeah.
control, and it's all the.
Stuff's in the italics.
Yeah,
All of it?
Yeah.
So this is supposed to be the measure?
it would be the new,
That,
no.
no, that's gonna be the language.
So we got-
This is the
measure.
law.
So yeah, what we need to do is finalize exactly what we're gonna put in this, and then we can talk about the language for the ballot.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're right, mine's a little long, but I need to
Well, have
shorten
you
it
ever
up.
been yes or no though? So it's you.
I'm blending.
Yeah, I mean, something like this could be really simple, do the voters wish to have the city of Porterville
But I,
have more
But, you know-
local control over
so don't even
bidding
mention that.
contracts and public.
$5 grand.
projects.
That would, I think you do that as a separate measure.
Yeah, no,
Bid
that's,
threshold is a separate measure, because otherwise I think if you tie it to, I mean.
yeah, you have a bigger chance of losing if there's money involved, so you put the money in a separate one, and then if you
Yeah.
both pass, fantastic, and if they don't, you still get
But
one.
do we have another one that we're doing that, or we wait on that, or?
Yeah, I guess there's a.
Well, yeah,
I'm trying to squeeze them both into one.
Right, the council said they don't want to change the threshold, but maybe after some of them watch this and realize, oh, 55 years, didn't
We
think
can
about
squeeze it all
that.
together. and
Let's,
just-
yeah, that's a good idea,
It
let's,
just
what
What do you
increases-
got, Clayton?
do I got?
What do you got for written down? Because I'm gonna take yours and sound.
For this, it was just what I just said, relatively, do the voters wish to allow the city of Porterville to have more flexibility when it comes to contracting and public works projects?
And I would say full flexibility.
Full
under the
flexibility,
charter
yeah.
powers.
And to benefit with, with lower cost, can we say that, Julie? What I'm
To
getting at?
self-perform.
That's in the argument for against.
Yeah, that'll be in the
well,
argument
that's
side.
what we're later.
We want it to be simple. We want them to see it and go, yes, I think, yeah, they should have local control. They should have more control. Right?
And it's always not about dollars and cents.
And I think it's a good idea. If they decide they want to raise the threshold, we make that separate. So if one passes, fantastic, and the other,
I'm gonna see what that Julia wrote down or you wrote down and see how I like it.
Should the citizens vote to allow the city to have full flexibility under their charter powers to self-perform public improvement work?
And here's the
Yeah.
problem with
yeah, because
self.
we can do maintenance now and our improvements are limited. This is giving us full flexibility over improvements. We can already do maintenance. Now we can do improvements.
What about, shall the city charter be amended to authorize the city to directly perform road maintenance and?
I like that better, because the problem with self.
I wouldn't even think
bunch more-
No, road maintenance is under something else.
Okay.
And then if we put it under this blanket,
Public works then, just public works?
yeah, so, and another good example. right?
It'll fall under public improvements.
Yes, another good example is, this water line that we annexed from the city in this road is really,
This public works.
it's really not feasible. For
No.
example, the
I don't
old
think it
wharf
does.
hydrants are on a 4-inch line. Well, 4-inch line just doesn't produce enough water.
Got
It
it.
doesn't give you enough. Under this, if this passes, we'd be able to take that annexed city if we're gonna be doing, hey, we're gonna be overlaying the road anyway, because roads are separate. But
Yeah,
before we do that, we wanna put a 6-inch line in. We're gonna just do that ourselves.
got it.
Julie's example earlier of a water line that needed to be replaced and a fire hydrant. We have to wait till it's an emergency to be able to do it.
Right.
Now, now you could do it when it.
I'm on the language right now. I'm trying to figure out the language.
So just to be clear, because you guys are moving really quick, just to be clear, this is verbiage for the city alone to do road maintenance.
No.
No,
Oh,
Road-
Okay.
you
No.
went further than
The
this.
city can do road maintenance. What we're doing now is we're expanding that umbrella to include more. We want to do some public works improvements, whether they be water, whether they be sewer, whether they be roads, whether they be,
And not
whatever
just
it is.
repair, all new.
yeah, because we can do repairs right now, but we want to be able to locally be able to do more.
And that's gonna eliminate any local businesses from competing on those bids.
Not necessarily.
Okay. Thank you.
Right? Because,
Some of-
because some of those projects may be outside of our abilities, right? If it's a small project and our crews can handle it, we want them to do it. If it is a full-blown subdivision size thing, obviously our guys have to do maintenance and they have to do other things. And so, yes, those are gonna go out to bid.
Okay.
Hey, what do you got?
Thank
So
you for
what's,
that. Very
what's
much.
your
Should
language?
the charter be amended to permit the city full powers under its charter to self-perform all maintenance, repair, replacement, and public improvement work?
That's exactly,
Power scares me.
that's exactly what I would say.
It's flexibility.
Read it to me.
Full power just doesn't.
Yeah,
Okay.
power is a bad word. Flexibility is better. It's more palatable.
And I think, read it to me again, Julie.
Should the charter be amended to permit the city?
Just how about to allow for the city?
Should the charter be amended to allow for the city to self-perform all maintenance, repair, replacement, and public improvement work?
You guys got a concern with self-perform because we know what it means, but if I'm a regular citizen, do I understand? I almost feel like
To do its own maintenance, repair,
There we go.
replacement, and
Yeah, and because I think everybody gets, oh, so we're gonna do it. I get what self-perform is, but I don't know that everybody knows what self.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like the all.
Well, I like the all because it gives us that umbrella,
Right.
because
Not just-
this is not dealing with just today. I want to think about the future. And if there is a technology that comes about that, or something that it gives them the flexibility to do it.
Is there a way to put a little?
It doesn't.
If we can, this is not saying we have to.
What I like is.
This is saying we have the option.
Like, there has to be,
What I
like,
think,
why
I
should
think
they?
what I like is he's talking about pipes because
Right.
it's fire,
Yeah.
but if it's a sidewalk, if it's all, we can, if we just say only pipes, then we can only repair pipes. I like to say if someone wants to do a sidewalk, that we can do that too.
Yeah, so yeah, this is just giving us a broader area under an umbrella to do more jobs that we're capable of doing, right? This is not saying, hey, now that we can do all this, we're gonna go out and hire a full-blown, construction crew just to do these things. That's not, I think, the intent.
That's the unintended consequence, maybe, is like the city getting bloated.
Yeah, but that's,
That's the.
they have to have the tax, they have to have the money.
Yeah, that's the unintended, that's the.
Let's Scott, I want to hear what Scott has to say.
Who makes the determination of what we can and what we can't handle?
We can do maintenance right now.
the city would, when the city would do that, it would have to, it still has to follow, there are still things that it'll have to follow. This does not eliminate, it doesn't eliminate basically requirements for the work to be able to be certified in the end of the day, which means they have to be done by people that are basically qualified to do the
We
work.
certify our own work?
Huh?
Would we be certifying our own work? Like, how like we have.
Inspecting our own
Yeah, we
work.
do,
Oh, yeah.
we can do our own work now.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We certify.
Our crews are capable and have
We have
licenses to
public
be able to do the
improvement
work, and then we have inspectors who
Yeah.
go out and inspect that, and they inspect our jobs too.
It keeps changing a little bit.
No,
I go out with public works inspectors all the time.
I actually kind of agree with not taking out all, after you said that.
Oh.
But, so let me tell. The challenge is reading my own writing. so. Should the charter be amended to allow for full flexibility for the city to do its own maintenance, repair, replacement, and public improvement work?
It's kind of clunky there, but.
Still funky, I know, I agree better, but
We just put up some, send it up,
Yeah, if you want to, if you want to call me and I'll work on it with you because I know what it is it
Yeah.
sounds pretty good till I start putting words in there. And now we're gonna read
well,
the first.
I try to get rid of stuff, so now it may be, but it still may seem a little bit, should
Is there
the
something-
charter be amended to allow for full flexibility?
Or how about full flexibility for city staff to do, no,
For,
It's when you say the city, that is encompassing,
yeah,
allow for, yeah.
because we don't want to make it
city
too wordy.
To
to do,
with self-perform, to perform,
Do its
repair
own.
and construction, on public improvements.
I can probably,
So that would
Is
not,
that-
the city would not
Using the word.
would the city be capable of doing the same project as they did on
I
Main
made it
and Villa?
I don't think we would have the capacity to do what we did right now on Main Street. That was a very large project. However,
No, I got- no,
only
I
a
think
section of Main had to be done. We could probably accomplish a section.
So like a
But-
block.
Maybe, yeah. And again, I don't know the full
What do you
capacity of the
got,
crews.
Julian?
I'm just gonna say that I haven't changed it yet, but once you have this in your charter, that's not the end. The city then adopts regulations pursuant to this. And it will cover things like, because it won't be able to, there will be practical difficulties. It will not just be performing everything. It won't be able to, it will not make monetarily the most sense.
Well, Julia, here's your,
Yeah.
sometimes things aren't
I
done
know.
monetarily.
I mean, but, I mean, they're, at the end of the day, they don't want to approve a budget that's underwater either. So, you know, I think
Yeah.
that there's always gonna be, you know, decisions that have to be
Got
made. So,
What do you got, Julie?
I don't think I changed it that much, but I was gonna get rid of replacement because I think that's actually implied. So, should the charter be amended to allow for,
If you want to do self-performance, that's okay. I think, I'm sure everybody can figure out from the two words what it means. I just worry that someone might not understand what it means, but go ahead.
to allow for, city self-performance for maintenance, repair, and public improvement work? I mean, I think you can make it that simple. So should the charter be amended to allow for self-performance for maintenance, repair, and public improvement?
I think that sounds.
Is there-
And it's not like we're trying to sneak a bunch of words in or try to confuse anybody. It's pretty simple.
No, if anything,
If you
I'm
read
trying
it,
to make it
yes, I do, or no, I don't.
Because
And that's what I think the voter wants.
And Julie even agreed with me that the last time we did use a lot of big words and and what happens, it turns people off. Because for one, if they don't know what it means, they vote no.
Yeah.
And I knew what some, I had to look at one of the words because I didn't know what it meant.
Is there a dollar amount that maybe we should put on that?
You know,
So we want to keep the dollar amount separate because voters may use the dollar amount to make
So
that
I
vote
wanna-
no, but they
Yeah.
like the idea, but because there's a dollar amount, they don't
So
like.
what I'd like to do is set a threshold for basically, you know, when we're contracting, what is the threshold for formal bidding requirements?
Right,
That's
but
really
that
what we're
doesn't have
trying
to be
do.
in this.
It doesn't
That
have
would
to
be
here.
something that a council would adopt and then they would have flexibility. in
If
other
they
things.
opt to keep it the same, then I think it goes back in here.
Yeah.
So I haven't put it in here because I didn't want to kind of muck up the discussion, but I think we're gonna have to put the 5,000 back in with a
Or
qualification.
just consistent with. Yeah.
But if. And that's the hard part is how do we mess with that? Because it's either gonna be, I think we included it within here and then we do a separate measure that alters that, the same measure.
That's what I think.
With
We keep
additional-
them separate because
Yeah,
ultimately this is our goal right here, the threshold of
Right, it's
money.
more
The
important than the
threshold
numbers. as
of
far as
money
I'm
would
concerned.
really benefit this. And we'd like to go through, but we don't want to tie the two together.
No, I don't want to.
Because if we could get this to pass and they don't say the money part, that's fine. We're stuck with what we've
No,
got
I
now.
got you, I got you. So read it to me one more time and I think I'm gonna make a motion to pass it.
so this one,
Mhm.
should the charter be amended to allow for self-performance for maintenance, repair, and public improvement? We should say for city maintenance,
Yes.
repair, and public improvement work.
Okay.
That's it.
Good, good. Anybody want to make a motion to send that one to council?
Move to recommend the council.
Anybody take a second?
I'll make a second.
Call for the vote.
Member Clayton Dignan,
In favor, yes.
member Taha Saleh,
Yes.
member Tom O'Sullivan,
Aye.
member Scott Bowler.
Aye.
Chairman Greg Shelton.
All right, what are we on now?
Number four.
Hot topic.
Right?
I think these are the numbers of the actual.
Oh,
Yeah,
you know what?
the numbers are off a little bit.
That's my fault. It's because I was gonna use the numbers they had and then I just changed my mind and then I must have.
So we're on number 4, the next one is number 6.
So number 4 is city council authority over department heads.
Hey, just for a second, does anybody want to take a break?
Oh,
Yeah.
Plus there's water.
Good.
Out of it.
I can go get water.
That'd be great. Well,
And I don't think I have them on the meeting.
No.
Even though I'm.
Are we taking a break?
Yeah, let's take a minute.
I'm not
Tomorrow,
stating-
back.
Yeah.
How I'm gonna vote on.
Right.
I just want to clarify.
I think you're okay as long as you're not.
Yeah, because I want to stay out of anything
Right
with
now,
code
yeah.
enforcement or any of that, and when it all first came out, because those were some of the ideas.
Gotcha.
But I am not a department head, yeah, I think that's,
Few more, we're halfway through.
They make a motion and I'm gonna follow my own.
no, but that's good, right?
That's fine. That's-
That's telling us that even though you did the work and we appreciate it, you don't agree with the idea, and that's fine.
But it's,
Yeah, it's difficult, but
Yeah.
that's
and it's
not
important,
my choice if it's on there or not.
and it's
I
important,
wouldn't,
right, and
you
it's
to always agree with me. That doesn't do any of us any good,
Part of
to
the-
always agree with each other.
part of the charter review. And granted, I mean, the
Are we,
city.
are we still recording or not?
I don't know if she, yeah, we
We
might.
should.
Yeah.
Recording.
Yeah, the mute is on, so they can hear us, but it's recorded.
I got nothing to say, that's not.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, so
Recycle.
the scope of what the charter review committee's duties is basically given by the council. So the council here
Either.
was, had this time, and they've chosen to kind of as you go type
Mhm.
authorizations. So now they've given you guys more sort of, hey, we want to know,
Specific.
yeah, and so I think they want it. I don't think it's a problem for you to have concerns and for them to know it. I think it's important from a larger perspective because
Yeah.
it does, because you guys are a perspective of the community. And that's gonna be reflected in the voting too, right? So it's important. That's always part of it, whether it's explicit or not, is that it's important to
Yeah.
explain your concerns because your concern may you not be alone in that, right? That's the whole point.
And that's why I'm saying like, let's give them the idea about the inflation idea.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that they didn't consider that in their thoughts, but if they didn't, maybe they would.
I think the council might have brought it up at a different time in one of the meetings where like they wanted to raise it and there was a back and forth with.
Right. But if you look at that and then, hey, 55 years, that might change my mind.
Yeah, that was a big.
I might be-
I'm like, man,
I might be against something, but what does it mean?
Would that have solved
What's the
it?
$5,000 mean today?
Yeah, if we even just had a CPI on the.
Yeah, that's the consumer price
You
index.
could not change anything and had that. Order.
Back in,
Thurman?
call it back to order.
All right.
All right, so we're looking at the next item.
So this is another one that the council did give us some direction and kind of narrowed it down. So I've already eliminated one of the more like complicated section just because of what they had said. So we're actually down to two alternatives for language. And I will tell you, they literally come from neighbors next door to us. One of them is Vicelia's and one of them is Exeter's.
We're using their charter.
So Vicelia's, I think, is in the charter. Exeter's is actually in their code, not even in the charter, but you could put it in the charter. So yeah, so if you go, and I'm sorry, I did not put, yeah, that number 4 item, city council authority department heads on the next page. There are 2 sections where for potential amendments to section 21 on the powers of city manager. And it would be on 21B specifically. You guys know, and by the way, the charter, we did attach a whole charter so you guys could see, you know, what the section as it reads now. The 21B would change to say to appoint, except as otherwise provided in this charter, all heads of departments, and this is the city manager, subordinate officials and employees, and remove the same, except as otherwise herein provided, and have general supervision and control over the same, period. And then we've added the proposed addition would be appointment and removal of department heads shall be subject to the approval of the council and shall not be effective without such approval. So that's one. And then the next one would be 21B would be actually, and I take it back, it really should be subject to the consent of the council is what they actually directed on at the meeting. Consent or consultation, you guys can choose which word you look better. The next one would be I think this is Vicelia's 21B.
Okay.
The next one, that last sentence would change to appointments and removal of department directors will be made after consulting with the city council. So there's the consent of the city council and then there's consulting with the city council. Personally, I like consent, and the reason why is that it is a definitive thing.
Okay.
Consulting is tough because
I don't agree with you.
I'm just telling you, I'm not asking you information, I'm just telling you.
okay.
My question is
Before we go
how
there,
much more does this change the power that they already have? They hire and fire you and the city manager, and they hire an experienced city manager to run the business.
Yeah.
In effect, they still have that power through their employee to enact their desire.
I agree with you that is.
okay,
different.
let me back up here a little bit. Now, so the council gave us direction, what options did they give us?
They said they liked the idea of it being with the consent or the consultation. They liked those options. And so that's what I meant to give you. So I apologize. I didn't have
Yeah.
that change in that one thing. but
That's the one that they
Yeah.
prefer.
They
What was the other
prefer,
option?
the other one was basically where it said they hired and fired.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've tried to shorten my staff report. So I took out the stuff that I figured wasn't kind of extra.
So when we say consent of the council, if that's the one that we agree on, do we say the consent of the majority of the council? Because if you say the consent of the council, now it's all of them have to consent.
So typically.
Majority, wasn't it?
Forfeit, right?
Yeah, so, well, no, I mean, those are things that can be discussed. If you want to get. This is literally the language that is that by selling next.
So by selling-
Now I can tell you in practice how it's worked in Exeter since I have.
There are times I want to open that umbrella. There's times I really don't want to open that umbrella. And the reason is that,
Yeah,
especially with this body, it changes so
Right.
often. There are different personalities and
and the reason why it's been fine in Exeter is that I can't recall, knock on wood, where it's been a situation where we've had a split count.
No one's ever pulled the trigger.
Why,
It's discussed in closed session. This isn't, I mean, it's become a closed session dealio. And it's, I mean, when they've all typically agreed or and it hasn't been formal, hasn't been a formal vote. It's
You're
just.
saying it hasn't really.
It's operated like a consultation, but if you needed to, you could take a vote. And that's why,
Has not fallen if it was in there.
no, but
They caught this.
Exeter
Okay,
is
I'm gonna.
arguably it's a different community.
Okay, I'm gonna go backwards again, because this is something, a very contentious thing, and I'm gonna do a quick polling if you want to. Do you think it's a good idea for the council to have power to?
You asked me as a citizen? You asked me as a
You know,
member?
yeah, but is it
I
gonna
don't
be?
know, I don't know if that's appropriate question right now.
Right?
my question right now is if they currently have the power and we're going to change that to do this, what about making that power public? Do they have to right now? My question is right now, if they make a decision back
So
there, do
it's
they have to
tricky.
report it when you come out?
So no, so here's the thing, this is personnel, right? We're in personnel territory, which is your business, it makes it cloudy. And this is where we have had issues. We've had issues with process in Exeter on this because it can be difficult. You forget that it's not the city administrator's responsibility and only their responsibility, right? So it would not be public. This would be handled. This would basically put things into, because it puts the purview of employees now on a certain amount of power. So it becomes a closed session discussion under personnel, and that's for the protection of the employee.
And so does, my
So,
follow-up
yeah.
question at that point is then the council members, do they purchase their own insurance to cover their liability, or do the taxpayers have to pay for the
So under the
council's?
consent idea, we haven't noticed a difference with the RMA.
I'm just saying if they
I do
get sued
think-
for
I-
something because they make a bad decision, and I'm not saying they would, but we don't know what's gonna happen in 10 years, and I'm still gonna potentially live here.
That was I mean, I'm a little less concerned here just because we haven't seen it change. I don't think Visalia has to pay more, and I don't think Exeter has to pay more for having this language in their.
They just probably haven't been sued yet.
All right, okay, I'm gonna take that as you're not a fan. Stop.
Oh,
I agree with you on the other one, though, for sure.
why isn't this a HR issue?
Because,
What's
because,
the-
because it's politics and I'll get my opinion in a minute. I mean, go ahead. That's also a rhetorical question.
They're city employees, why is it an HR issue?
Second comment.
That's my question.
So
What is your question?
I'm gonna
He
finish.
answered with a question.
He did, he was a rhetorical question.
Yeah,
What do you think of the idea of council to be able to?
I didn't like it at all.
Okay. All right, well, I'm gonna be the
Can I
one.
finish my sentence?
Well, I don't know. We're trying to move this along.
I didn't like it at all when I first read it, and it could be used as a tool.
No,
I'm just looking at it.
We could,
And again, I'm just trying to ask questions that.
you know, your city
Hey,
manager,
hey.
People don't think about.
so I see a benefit in it. So
Well, you're ambivalent because you're ambivalent about it then.
there's pros and cons, but like I said, first I was no, but then there could be situations where it may not be the director, it's the city manager and the council having some consent authority can kind of build a bridge at the same time not lose a city manager
Yeah, and that's,
and
I
possibly a director. So
like that answer.
again, it's always who's on the
It's an
dais.
interesting
It's
point.
always who's on the dais. So, yeah, I mean, I was dead against it.
Yeah, yeah, and I,
I would assume, because I've never been in the position, but I would assume that a good city manager who is an employee of the council and recognizes that would discuss department head decisions. But as a person who looks at it from the council side, if I hire you to be my city manager, Taha, I want you to build your team,
Right.
because your team is more effective than a team that I'm just putting a bunch of random people together and expect there to be cohesion and everything to get done.
So if you're talking about running a business, that's the effective way of running a business. If you're talking about
Okay.
running personality.
But this is a business. The city is a corporation.
okay,
So
okay, now it's my turn. Okay, I'm gonna be the contrarian. I think it's a good idea, and I'll tell you why. Because all this great stuff in practice, I've seen where it doesn't work. I saw where we had a city manager who hired a mayor for the prior city, Mr. Longley, you know, and brought him down here and tried to put him in a position and wasn't qualified for, and then put him in another position. And basically, he did a bad job, and we couldn't get rid of him because the only two people in a strong mayor format that you can hire and fire are the city manager and the city attorney.
Mhm.
So you either gotta take the poison pill and threaten your city manager if he will not get rid of a bad employee. So Julia, thank you for telling me the sky didn't fall, because I feel like, I don't think it'll happen. I don't think it'll happen, but I also think it's a good motivator to keep people, so you don't get a situation where someone does get a little, powerful. We had Gary Banks. Remember Gary Banks, that situation?
he's not a director. This wouldn't affect him.
That's- He was a part of the.
He was not a director.
Mm-mm.
All right, then we should have hired.
And
we
it
should
took me a
have
second
fired
to
his
remember who he
boss.
was.
He's not, that is, and again, when I'm talking about leadership, that would be the city manager expressing his desire to the department head to deal effectively with their employees.
The city manager works for the council. If you hire somebody that's a detriment, then you gotta deal with the city manager.
And I agree with what Tom's saying, right? Tom is saying that, hey, we don't want to threaten to lose a city manager over a department head decision that we don't agree with that person on. We don't really want to have to use that, and then, because then if we're threatening him, even though we don't fire him, he may just decide to leave.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't like the consensus. So I agree with the idea
Consent is a very gentle word.
Yeah. It's not them going, we're gonna review the applications and we're gonna decide and we're gonna recommend that you hire our friend. It is, and that's why I'm asking, should the vote need to be public? And then, with that said, what's the threshold? Is it 3/5, 4/5, or 5/5?
Have you got anything? Has anybody written anything?
You did. You did.
No.
I didn't write any ballot measures. I left that all.
Quick question to Julian.
Yeah.
So where's the record for closed session?
There is no.
So if you require 4/5, it's a personnel matter. It's not going to be disclosed to the city and the.
So yeah, so I'm trying to think how it's worked in my other cities. So we've had a few situations. Now, they're also entitled under our ordinances. They actually are entitled to a hearing. So in Exeter, you're entitled to a hearing before the council after the decision's made. You're still an at-will employee, so it's a limited basis upon which you can make an appeal. So you do have that ability. So that would be something I'd recommend if they do this. It's not in the charter, though. In fact, none of this is in the charter in Exeter. It's all in ordinance.
Ordinances
Yeah.
afterwards.
But if you were gonna put that, if you're gonna put the ability, I would recommend that then they adopt an ordinance that kind of provides for some procedure. And that they do. They're already allowed. I mean, they're already entitled to some level of a pre-disciplinary hearing. But because the council was involved in the consent of the termination in this case, then they get the ability of having that hearing with the council. So.
So
Yeah,
in
so
the
that's
charter, I
provided.
don't necessarily feel comfortable on a specific number of council members.
Really?
Not in closed session, because it's a personnel matter.
I mean, the city
They have
attorney
an
keeps
appeal-
track, so
they have an
I do
appeal.
keep track if I ever need it, like, that's usually the city attorney when you don't have, because these aren't reportable actions. Now, granted, with the termination of a department head, it may become, I think it does become a record because you're potentially, well, no. Take it back. It doesn't.
Yeah,
Just if you have a contract, because in contracts and compensation, that's all covered in open session. So,
because
yeah.
anybody else, because with the appeal, anybody else that comes before council for any sort of administrative action doesn't get a pre-vote.
And how does that,
Doesn't get
how does that
no-
go if they vote to terminate somebody and that person sues for wrongful
So they
termination?
typically-
Because they're gonna call back and say,
Yeah.
well, who was for or against? Because that's the
So the
liability.
way it is operated in closed session in where I've been is that they don't take a vote.
Mhm.
It's not done with a vote
Okay.
and it hasn't been driven by the council. It's been driven by the administrator and then consented to by the council.
Consensual.
Yeah. So, and so that's how it works. So it has it now. I think you're right. I mean, it all depends on the personalities that are doing it. You can have, a city administrator or manager that, wants to get basically is,
Final straw.
and you could have a split decision and we just haven't had it. That doesn't mean it couldn't happen. And you want your laws to be able to handle all.
We're trying to
situations,
formalize
not just the,
an informal
ideal.
process right now. Is that what's going on? Trying to formalize something that's informal.
Well, I think they're just trying to get an idea of how it would work, because I would not recommend you have this level of detail in your charter on it. I think it needs to be, you can set it in your charter and then you can, your regulations go.
What are some suggestions for charter language? Is that where we're
Yeah,
at
so
right now?
charter language, I think is very simple. Do you wish to allow the city of Porterville, do the voters wish to allow the city of Porterville's council to have the ability to hire and fire or have input on the hiring and firing of?
But they already have
Department
input, so.
I understand that, but
They don't have formal input, they have informal input, right? So
Yeah, that's my point. I mean, the guy says, thank you, for your input, pound sand, there's not, you do it, I'm firing.
You're not gonna say, give them power to appoint or remove. That's not gonna be the language.
Since this is gonna be like a questionable thing, I'd like to have a couple, 2 or 3 languages.
Well, and I would, a couple ways you can handle it. And again, this is your guys' call at the end of the day, but so on that first one that I had, I could soften the language a little bit even more. And it could just simply say appointment and removal of department head shall be subject to the consent of the council. And subject to, we can adopt regulations to deal with the other
Well,
stuff.
put that one in there, that can be yours, and now put Clayton's in there, and that can be
Well,
Clayton's.
it's not,
well, and I didn't see this either now, because I thought it was just department heads, but now you're saying subordinate officials and employees.
Oh, wow.
So now that goes down the line to.
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
No, that's the power of the city manager.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I was, okay, I looked at it.
I know, yeah, I should have given you the whole section so you
I
could.
was like, whoa, what do you mean?
Sorry.
The person that was gonna be.
No,
Yeah,
let me
I don't wanna be that guy.
The issue on the voting.
Yeah.
I took out the and shall not be effective without the approval, because that does imply a vote, and we don't do that, that's not what's
Okay.
done in.
Well, and again, that's why I'm asking the questions, prompting you.
So, appointment and removal of department heads shall be subject to the consent of the council.
Now, is that yours or is that Clayton's or that?
That is just me listening to you all, you guys could, like I said, it's not, I don't know, I don't
I
have any.
got my
comment
own, I
on this.
want to put mine in there.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
In there.
That's if for those that are wanting it to be, maybe ladies.
I shortened it up. Okay, shall the citizens of Porterville vote to allow for the city council to fire a department head without cause by a simple majority, as long as all state labor laws are followed?
That is really wordy.
Well, I don't care. I'm gonna put it in anyway.
But again, I don't mind. Let's give them some options and let them see which one they like.
Mine was just the law itself, I can make that a measure. And to put it in.
I don't mind if you do one, then I'll.
No, I'm not doing it, you guys do it.
All right, well.
No. I think my ballot language, again, I'm gonna fall back to simple. I'm not trying to contradict you, but what I'm saying is let's give them a couple options.
I agree.
Mine's gonna be simpler.
Oh, so that's gonna make it better?
No, it's gonna make it an option. Should the city council have the authority to hire and fire directors?
You got anything, you got an idea for when?
No, mine's out because it was a whole fourth fifth, and we don't want to put numbers in there, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't, no,
No.
you put whatever you want to. They don't want to, but I'm gonna make it where anybody that has a good one, I'm gonna, if we all agree, let them look at all of them. They might rob something from yours, take something from Clayton, take something from mine and come up with their
Well,
own.
mine was, shall the city charter be amended to allow city council by 4/5 vote to appoint and remove department directors, ensuring accountability, transparency, and effective leadership of city
Okay, so
operations.
the problem with all of these is they just don't think they're consistent with the direction of the council.
Yeah,
Because the council actually said, we like the idea of just having consent
oh, really?
or consultation, that's
So
what
my
they said.
suggestion is
Okay,
city
but-
manager,
Unless somebody heard something different.
I thought
city manager to receive council consent
I'll tell you.
to hire or terminate director.
Like that.
I like that. I think that's more in line with what they may have,
Yeah.
what they were.
Okay, but you know
What
what?
was that again?
Put them all in there anyway.
Yeah, that's fine.
They got a problem.
But there was a lot going on, I was processing.
City manager to receive council consent to hire or terminate a director.
I like that.
I think it must be
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I think that's.
So that means we're on number
Isn't that what?
6.
relax. We're
This was
gonna.
really should have been number 5.
Don't look confused. Have you got it all down, Julia?
So Julie.
I will have that because it's on the record, so.
And can you hear this?
Yeah, and I'll make a motion. Do you like yours? You want yours to go? Okay, I would make a motion that we accept those 3. Well, no, you don't want the forfeits. Okay,
You don't want to put yours in there?
no, I suggest we make,
Okay.
or I make a motion that we accept Greg's verbiage and Tom's verbiage to be sent to the council for their.
And your
There.
version? There's 3, you said.
No, I agree with Tom. I'd take mine off the table and agree with his. I like.
Oh,
I only have
you're
2.
gonna pit me against Tom, huh?
Your storybook, Craig, is inconsistent with legal advice on 4/5.
I still think the partner should be in there and let the council make the call.
Well, and again, yeah, let's give him the option, but
That's why I
what
like Tom.
I would have written, I would have changed my mind after hearing Tom because I like the way he wrote it
I
down.
could not
What do you
get a
got,
word
two?
in.
Can I hear him again, please?
Yeah, Julie.
2 or 3, I can't read them into the record because I was relying on. the-
I made a motion. Do I have a
Do
second?
you have your language?
I'm not
Go ahead.
I'm not sitting here taking a transcript, I can't read it.
Do you have your written or did you?
Greg,
I'm done.
Greg, my motion was to send both of yours to the
Okay,
council.
but Scott wants to hear.
Oh.
So Tom, repeat yours if you don't mind.
City manager received council consent to hire or terminate directors.
And the other one that I said, shall the citizen support will vote to allow for the city council to fire department head without cause by a simple majority, as long as all state labor laws are followed.
Can we make an amendment to that motion? That we just sent?
I don't think we have a second on, so it doesn't.
Can I get,
Gonna die for a lack of a
Oh,
second.
there you go.
Not gonna make legal review.
And you can offer your own.
Thank you.
so my question then again is why isn't this an HR issue?
It is an HR. Hiring and firing is an HR for the process. But when you get to that level, it's, again, these guys build their team and they are not subject to the competitive process to hire. Like, if I go, I gotta fill out the application, gotta take the testing, gotta do all the stuff that they need to, oops, all of that. right? So does everybody else. We're competing for that job. Here, they're essentially building a team of professionals
Mhm.
and they want to take the best professional for the job. They don't want to just say, you know.
HR is a part of the. process.
HR is
Oh, yeah.
always a part
It
of the
has to be, and
process.
that's how.
So,
Yeah.
the city manager being the sole decision maker, council is in the loop.
Because once they're an employee of the city, the HR is handling everything. They go to them for what you need and, you know, get your paperwork done and, you know.
What about the opposite? So that's the hiring process. What about the firing process?
It has to be justifiable,
Yeah.
HR is in the loop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's state labor laws that
There's
trump
nothing
all
that
of
the council
it.
say, hey,
No,
Really,
get rid of this person.
there's state labor laws that trump all.
Well,
of
you
it.
cannot fire for a discriminatory or an
Right,
illegal
there's
reason,
reasons. And-
even if you're at will.
And every one that I've seen so far or been involved with or recommended has required more than one person to decide.
So now are we on number 6, Chairman?
We didn't get the motion.
We did a motion in a second. Why don't you want to?
Well,
Mine died for a lack of a
Well,
second.
then make it again.
I'm gonna let Tom make it.
I'd like to make a motion to forward Tom's recommendation to the council.
And I'll second that.
What about me?
I'd like, can I motion with a 4/5 vote?
Want to add amendment to that?
You want to amend his motion? Yeah. State it.
Well,
I'd like to add,
why don't you add another separate motion, yours, and then yours can replicate theirs with the 4/5 vote. You see what I'm
That's
saying?
easier to,
Yeah.
for the record.
okay, so I'd like to make an amendment and a motion to approve the both with a 4/5 vote.
You know, I got it.
So you can vote on the first, you can vote on the underlying motion. Well, we actually are following Robert's.
Yeah, I-
rules. Not very often.
Okay.
We're gonna follow
Right in
it.
the room.
Yeah, okay, so we have, and, hold on your motion, I'm gonna second the first motion that Tom made, we're gonna vote on that, and then we're gonna vote on yours. All right, so.
You can't jump on a second. There's already been a second. You can't be a second
I
second.
can be second, you don't want to be.
Third second.
Okay,
Okay.
second. So what do we got? So, I mean.
Lori's looking.
So point of clarification,
It's fine.
Greg, point of clarification. Taha's is to take Tom's. Scott's is to add yours to Tom's, not
No,
just.
no,
No, just a 4/5 vote.
No,
Oh, you want to add the four
No,
fifths vote to Tom?
I like your
Okay.
motion clean, but he likes your motion, but with a 4/5 vote. So that's gonna be two motions, right? And the
Yes.
council, and then I got a
Yeah.
completely different one.
You can just pick which one you want to do first. The underlying
Well,
motion.
let's do the one, Tom's motion and.
For
do
Tom-
that second.
Tom, yeah, that was second.
And I think I seconded it.
Yeah.
So call for the vote.
Member Clayton Dignam,
Aye.
member Taha Sole, member Tom O'Sullivan,
Aye.
member Scott Bowler,
Nay.
chairman Greg Shelton.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, now the second motion is gonna be your motion, but with a 4/5 vote added to it.
Correct.
As a requirement. So does somebody want to make a motion on that?
And you
I'll motion
seconded that one?
I'll motion to approve.
Okay, I got a second?
No, I'm not seconding.
You make a second? Ty, you got a second? I'm gonna second it for effect. All right, call for the vote.
Member Clayton Dignam,
Nay.
member Taha Sole,
Nay.
member Tom O'Sullivan,
No.
member Scott Bowler,
Yes.
chairman Greg Shelton.
Yes. Okay, and then mine's gonna, now I'm gonna probably get punished for this. Now we're mine. So anybody gonna, well, I'll make the motion.
Make the motion, see?
I have my motion and that, I don't know if you got it, but. or-
We've got it. We can, we can.
Okay, all right, but can I get a second?
So your motion is to approve the language you suggested?
Yeah, I did.
I would second that.
All right, second. All right, and, Lori,
With the language with the.
what the.
The story
wrong
with
it.
the-
Oh, yeah.
Member Clayton Dignam,
Yes.
member Taha Sole.
Abstain, Dolores.
You wanna know?
I'm gonna abstain. Right, I'm
If
sorry.
you abstain, it goes with the motion.
Oh, nay.
Member Tom O'Sullivan,
Nay.
member Scott Bowler,
Can he read that one more time?
Very long one.
Shall, it's making it longer when you keep interjecting. Shall the citizens of the board vote to allow for the city council to fire a department head without cause by a simple majority as long as all state labor laws are.
Yes.
I guess I lost. I'm gonna vote yes. You guys suck.
Moving right along, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Are we at number 6 now?
We are, we're on the last one.
What about?
This is the election, not selection. Okay, so currently under Charter Section 16, it provides that vacancies in the city council offices aside from those that are created by recall election, that's handled or something else, shall be filled by appointment by the council, with the appointee serving until the next council election. In the event that the council fails to agree, actually the mayor is charged with doing so. So I had one time where it looked like the mayor was gonna have to make an appointment and then the council got their act together and did it. So just where it was taking a while, but that's only one time I can, in my memory, that I can recall that happening.
This is something you wrote?
No, this has been around forever. I haven't changed this. No, in fact, to me, this is a little bit unusual in that it specifically calls out appointment and only appointment. Typically under the law, it gives the council the option of appointing or doing a special election under general law. So you have the ability to do either or. They're very clearly have said they want to do, they want to go to elections for it. So don't do that. However, I did point out to them, and again, I think this is the last one we dealt with, so if you guys remember something different, let me know, but my understanding was that they did, when I was researching this, it seemed really simple until you start looking at the consequences of doing this. Obviously, you're gonna have, there's gonna be costs, because every time you go to a special election, it's gonna cost you money, so that's the big one. So therefore, you're gonna wanna try to, at the very least, consolidate it with whatever elections are nearby, like the next one. In which case, then the question becomes, what do you do in the meantime?
Right.
And so Fresno's looked at this very thing. And so I actually really like theirs. They actually provide for an appointment in the short term until you can get that special election done. So, and then there's timeframes. And the timeframes are really difficult to figure out because the county keeps moving the ball. There's a statutory time frame, and then there's the county's time frame on when they need things, and the county's time frame is not the same. So, and so because they need things sooner, and granted, the law hasn't been touched on time, it's gotten more complicated over the years, so I get why it's a problem.
So I have a question, and I'm just thinking out loud here is the charter currently says elections at large, but we've gone to a by district election. So would this special election only be for that district?
Yeah,
Correct.
Could we make it where if that is the case, because it's only for that term, that becomes a citywide election to replace? That way everybody has a choice in that,
for that one.
for that one position.
Boy,
It's not complicated.
It sounds sometimes like a waste of money if we're only gonna get 300 people to vote out of a district
Or 200.
or 200 to vote out
I
of a
agree
district,
with.
right?
Problem-
That's a lot of money to
That's
spend
what we're doing.
because then we gotta
okay,
advertise
so
to the people who don't pay attention and aren't
Yeah.
here at the 2 meetings a month
when you're saying you want to make it citywide for a vacancy?
for a vacancy.
Well, okay, so theoretically,
Because then we're spending the money for all the voters to vote instead of just 150 or 200 people.
Oh, wait.
you're by doing this, though, you're kind of raising another issue that we're not addressing right now, which is the fact that our charter still says at large, right? They have specifically said they don't want to do housekeeping, because that was
I
kind
know,
of my
I
recommendation.
know, we both said that.
Yeah, we
I
did.
got you.
So, and this is the one that kind of sticks out the most to me, because I wanted to actually make it either, I wanted to broaden it. I don't like limiting charters, because then you're like, got buyer's remorse later on. So right now it says at large. I would suggest, my suggestion to fix that would be to say, I mean, obviously we went to district, but we did provide within our own ordinance the ability to go back. And there is some interesting,
Well-
statewide, they're beginning to realize that
Doesn't work.
it doesn't, it has not,
And-
CRA has not helped, right?
And I think that really for a charter, to give it a broader, I would want the charter actually amended to allow either or as decided by the council.
Right, well, right now it's in our ordinance anyways, so they already are effectively they effectively can do that, but we have this glaring problem with our charter not really
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
matching. Because, and so, somebody could say somebody could say we're violating the charter because we went to district elections and we didn't change the charter. However, ask Visalia how that went.
Yeah, I get in trouble for it.
No, Visalia tried 3 times to change its charter, 3 different elections, and the voters said no,
Right.
even though they were under a lawsuit and they had to, and they paid $1 million, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I remember when that happened. I was on council.
Right.
Council.
And so-
They tried to correct their.
They tried to correct it and
the
the
district,
voters
and they
said
said
no.
no.
Yeah.
No, people said we didn't like it.
But I think it would sell if you were just saying, hey, we're giving them the option under
Right.
our charter.
So my-
Because we want the council to,
You just word this.
But they don't want to
You
change
conduct
that.
an election.
but this is only for the selection.
Could you word this? Could you back the
Special
word?
election is based on the charter, which is citywide.
There you go.
You could, it does raise some issues on whether, and so the other problem with the CVRA is that, well, there's legal questions
Yeah,
to
I
whether
got
we can go to
voted.
at-large. There's still legal questions. Santa Monica's fighting this fight right now. Santa
Go along,
Monica.
go along.
They are trying to preserve their at-large elections
Mm-hmm.
and the jury's still out, I think.
That's
Literally on
eliminating districts, correct?
just going to at-large. Basically, anybody can vote in the city for all of your
Okay, but
elections.
correct me if I'm wrong, the way it's structured now, it sounds like really it's the same thing. What our charter says now, that is if someone, if someone passes away within, 60 days, or resigns within 60 days of an election, then they get to appoint. It has to they have to, and that the game that was played is that people with one of our last, I'm not gonna mention any names, but one of our last ones waited till 59 days before the election and then resigned their position so that his compatriots on the council could then appoint his successor. I didn't like that. I think that's manipulating the system. I like what you're saying about.
So they can call a special election standalone special election though, and you could require that.
And that's my point. I would like, but I did like what Clayton was getting at, not so much maybe for letting everybody to vote on that person. And I think that if you're gonna have a district on these people that should be able to vote on it. But what it does do is if you're gonna spend the money and say there's some other charter amendments that you could do. So, and it's like some of our election where they say, you only can vote on these measures. So people in this place only get the just the charter amendment that says on that special election, but don't have an option to vote on representative. And then the other ballot that gets mailed out has the ability to vote for a replacement councilman and the charter amendment. You get what I'm saying?
And another thing that comes into play that isn't discussed here is that you're saying you want a special election to replace somebody who resigns or is no longer on council for whatever reason. Okay, how do I choose who that's gonna be? Because I usually, through the campaign season, learn about my candidates and who I want to be in that position. And now you're telling me, how would I even know? I just go in and there's a ballot with 3 names on it because
Well, I
those
hope
3
you do
people
your
ran into
research.
City Hall and filled out an application?
How it happens now.
No, I'm talking about how they want to change it to an election. How would we as the voters
You know that there's an opportunity, or
know,
who's voting, who are voting?
or vote, right? Again, a lot of people don't pay attention to what's going on down here, but they know during the election cycle, it's time to vote and get involved.
I'm not gonna monitor people. That's a personal.
No, but I'm just saying, but again, so they come up with just 2 names. We don't know who those people are to vote.
But isn't that your?
So is there a
responsibility?
time frame to say, well,
Okay, so under this, and granted, I mean, again, it still leaves a lot of power to the council. There is a provision like you could put in, so you could require that to deal with the whole idea that you want to have somebody in the seat until you can call the election, you put a limitation in when they have to call it by. So then they gotta.
If they get in, they only get 60 days.
Right.
That's the problem. You
So-
become an incumbent and then you have.
Like I think Fresno went with 90 days. They must call, so they have to call it after they call it. So basically a vacancy in the office shall be filled by special election to be held not sooner than 90 days. Oh, it's not sooner, never mind. Not sooner than 90 days after the council calls such election, nor later than the next regular election. So that's the concern.
so I
we're
like the
having.
not sooner than 90 days. That gives 90 days for somebody to get out there and say, hey, I want to take this seat. This is who I am.
But
Well,
see,
no, you want campaigning.
But the way
Yes.
that-
Well, and it's
that's
gonna take
manipulated
that
is that
guys.
we're back to their.
Yes.
It's gonna take that long to do a special, you couldn't.
How long is it gonna take to put a special election together?
Well, right now, that's a loaded question, because if we go with the county, we're at the, whatever, how long it takes to do it. If we do it ourselves, we will have to hire a consultant. We don't have anybody that's
Is it every year, every 2 years?
every 2 years.
Yeah, I'm not, I think it's cost
Unless there's a
prohibitive.
special
I think it's
election.
cost prohibitive to do it.
What's the cost? What's the value of the democracy?
Cost.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It's a lot. I mean,
It's $100,000.
And this is not a thing that happens all the time. I mean.
So
we had a
in
few-
conjunction with it's 26 grand in conjunction with a regularly held
I
election.
think it's at 100 grand without one.
Yeah, it was just,
It might be
just
$100,000.
north of 100. It was, yeah.
Yeah. And so then we're looking at whether or not we go, I mean, that's another,
Well,
again.
how about this? How about that you can call it, but only with 4 officials, basically what it accounts to a unanimous decision.
Point, just a point. If you got 4/5 of people wanting to go, just the point.
No, I think, well,
You go right to process, yeah.
go ahead.
Just a thought. I think
can
what we
hold the
need
primary,
to,
though.
figure out first
So we
is
have to
if
get
someone,
Hey,
my question is, if somebody was to leave the council, I think we need to figure out a timeline. Excuse me, to where maybe the council does approve someone to fill that seat. So
Interim.
In interim, and we find an amount of time for that, and then we find an amount of time, okay, it's too long, we have to have an election.
and that's what she said. I like the 90 days and must have it for 6 months. And if it means we have to do our own, we have to do our own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no sooner than 90 days, no longer than 6 months.
Absolutely.
Unless there is an election
Oh,
coming
yeah.
within that
Unless
timeframe.
there's a regular
But
schedule.
another thing that Julia just said too is we could tie it to, you wanna,
For the June primaries.
yeah, like the primaries.
And any state held election, I think we can
Yeah.
consolidate.
So
Yeah,
we,
that's a good idea.
we might be able, if there's a primary coming, we could put it on the primary.
What the council has said is they really like what this charter committee is doing. The problem is it takes so long to do it. They talked about maybe doing it every election cycle. You know what I mean? Yeah, well, I may not be on here, but you might.
What?
To have a charter review committee that keep fixing the charter. You
I don't
know?
think
Become a
there's any need
standing-
to threaten us with.
You become a standing committee.
What's that?
Become a like a real true standing.
Yeah, and they're saying, and then, and in situations where you do have a special election because someone moved out of town or passed away, or whatever, you could even then do another, because the problem is it takes, you know how long it takes. So if we can just, do them two at a time, we could get a lot done in a relatively short period of time. So.
Yeah, so we could do that with, it'll be with the next regularly scheduled, vote,
Mhm.
or the next
So what do you think?
primary. If it's within that time, if there's a primary or an election, going within that time frame, that 60 to 90 days, it's just gonna, if it falls in that window, we're just gonna go with that.
Absolutely. That's a great idea.
I think we just need to we'll have to let the council know what the cost will be.
So if there's one within
Their
6
own
months, it's gonna tie into that automatically.
I love it.
Or, and then they still get to a point for the interim, but that person is not an
But
incumbent.
I like your idea, not necessarily, I like your idea about in that same election, special election, can do something that the entire city can vote on. Maybe not the councilman,
Yeah.
but another charter amendment.
Yeah.
I
I
like
wouldn't
that.
recommend it for the council vacancy, just because then we, all of a sudden, we've got some that are by district and some that are at large, and it's just,
You got anything written down, Julia?
not a measure. I was working on, change some notes because I'm gonna need to tweak.
You guys want to pound something out real quick? I'm gonna write something.
So can you explain, so if somebody falls off 6 months in, right, for whatever reason, the council has 90
Between 90 days and 180 days. to
Yeah,
fill that
so
position.
they have between 3 months and 6 months. They can't do it sooner than 3 months, but they have to do it by 6 months.
So that candidate is gonna be there for the remaining 3 years without an election.
No,
Okay.
with an election. The election has to happen. The person who will be there without the election is the person who gets appointed for the interim, and the maximum interim appointment will be that 6-month period.
For the remainder of the original term that was vacated.
Then get
Because they
started by,
rotate.
so once you fill by special election, now that person fills the remainder of that
Right.
council member's seat.
Just the original term.
Phil,
Yes, but what I'm saying is the interim is only there until the election is
But
passed.
Scott's question
Yes.
statement was 4 years, and that's not.
No, because we have our elections are staggered, our positions are
The
staggered.
risk now
It'd be a year
is
in,
that somebody
yeah.
dies,
it'd be like a
Because of
year.
another
and the person that's not put in goes the whole time.
The next city election would be.
Until the next.
where-
Okay,
Correct.
currently. So I would say the language needs to be very simple, should the city council have the ability to cause a simple election in the event of a vacancy of a council seat? Said election shall be held no sooner than 90 days, no longer than 180 days.
That won't go in the thing, that wouldn't go in the
No,
measure.
you-
I would just simply say something like, should the charter be amended to
To allow
require
A
election?
special election.
A special election to fill
Okay.
vacancies with council appointments in the short term pending the election or something to that effect. But
Okay,
we
yeah,
can
so,
work on
yeah,
that, but that's what I
Should
would.
the council
leave it
be
at that.
allowed
Yeah.
to, or should the charter be amended to allow the council to cause a special election with the ability to appoint
So we
a?
do allow or
an
require?
interim?
Because my impression was they didn't want to
Require.
allow appointments. For.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
But they don't want somebody for that, even that
No, they
6-month
would, but
period?
they would require an election with with an allowance for short term.
Yeah.
Yeah, so shall it be amended to require a
Mhm.
special election to appoint the vacancy and allow the council to appoint an interim person.
Right.
Is the
Allow or
appointee,
require?
Require the election, allow them to
A
appoint.
vacancy by appointment.
They have discretionary for the interim.
They have discretionary for the interim, right? But for the election, that's a must.
And you may want to change that word just because interim might throw people for a loop, but we can work on that.
Yeah,
The
for,
vacancy.
for the person who fills the vacancy till the election.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it can be.
Let's read that back.
Yeah.
is the appointee able to run for election?
Yeah,
Well, who?
yeah, yeah.
Anybody can run at the next
Yes.
election.
And it gives them
So
an
they
advantage,
pick
because they're kind of an
somebody-
incumbent.
I would not recommend that you guys, I mean, just my personal experience dealing with elections, sometimes it's hard to get people to run. So the last thing you want to do is have even a short-term appointment be of such where then you're like, but the deal is you can't run, because then you're just limiting your pool of.
Yeah,
people.
no, we want them to be able to run.
Yeah.
Because we may like who they
I'm not even
choose.
sure you can do that legally.
Right.
It's constitutional
That
right
doesn't-
to-
that doesn't seem fair.
I don't think you
Yeah.
can.
You get sick, you get, 180 days or 60 days and you give them the right to be able to run for a full term.
Yeah, right.
Shall the charter be
Yeah.
amended
Shall the charter be amended
to
to
require council vacancies be filled by
special elections?
special election?
And allow the council to appoint an interim. Not, well, we
Allow,
want to change that.
I shouldn't like
A
it.
person
Yeah, I
to
know.
fill the vacancy until said
allow
election.
council
I like that.
appointment to fill a seat until
The special
that-
election.
that election or something.
Yeah. That would be my verbiage. You just wrote my
Mhm.
recommendation as we
Shall
talked.
the charter be amended to require council vacancies be filled by special election and allow council appointments to fill the seat until that next election?
So currently, special elections are not allowed.
I don't think we have.
No,
They are not, we
No.
actually say
You
it's
have
by
to
appointment,
yeah, the
which
way
is,
that,
which is unusual. I
the way,
mean,
yeah, the
yeah.
way it's written now is they don't have a
Well,
choice.
it got manipulated.
They have to appoint.
Well, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Currently, they
That's what we're
have to
at
appoint
Currently, they have to
and it
appoint.
lasts the whole term.
So the day after you take office, if you resign,
Let me see.
the council gets to select the person for the next.
Right.
for the
Would you guys be open to?
And they also get to decide the process by which they.
I would
select
like
that
for you
person.
to, I'd like to do it again the same way, let the clean one and then put your amended one in there and see how they work. Because I like it when it's clean. I don't
I want
want
to
to.
get, like, see how you guys, we don't have to do the picture, I just want to get to kind of just test it, because
Why don't you try it?
there is a concern, for me, there is a concern with cost, there is concern with special elections, so it sounds like we have one extreme that's current, and in my opinion, another possible extreme, which is allowing a special election, so could it be, allowing the council to appoint, and then at the next election, not the full term, which is at whatever the next election is, it goes up for selection.
I did.
That is an option.
Just stood out to me.
Yeah, but I think that's how it's already written that way, Tom. That's
That's not, no, it's what, the way it's written now is they appoint and it lasts the rest of the term.
No, until the next regularly scheduled election.
He might be-
I-
Julia, that's, my point is,
Sorry.
like, I'll give you an example. If a guy gets in there, like Mr. McCracken, and he passes away within 2 weeks of the election, the appointee doesn't get to go 4 years. The appointee only gets to go 2 years.
So within 2 weeks of the election, there's no way you get it on the ballot, right? So you have to, remember that the county requires everything.
No, but what I'm getting at
The
is.
question, the question is, if somebody's off and somebody takes his place, do they take the rest currently? Do they take the rest of his term?
Right
or do
now,
they make it
yes.
To the 2 years mark? Could it be a half a term?
No, he
No,
he only
they
gets
get through the
To the
full
next
term.
election?
No,
They
he doesn't,
fill-
like-
No, I don't think so. It's the next
No.
succeeding day of the
That's why-
election.
That's why they only get like a 2 year. They get a partial and then they have to run until
I mean,
2 years.
That's what I'm saying. They are there until the next election.
Yeah, so
That's what I'm saying.
regularly scheduled election.
Regular
They
schedule.
do not finish the term?
No. No, I know that.
That's my understanding.
No, they only get to do up until the next regularly scheduled election.
I think it's on the next election because that's typically how, but let me
Yeah.
be sure. Put it in here.
We're almost done, guys.
No, this is it. This is the last one. Oh, yeah, the next council election. So it's just, so they don't serve a whole.
So in theory, the most we could ever get was 2 years out of it,
Okay.
appointee.
And now what we're doing is saying an appointee only gets up to 6 months, but
Right.
at least 90 days.
all right, so yeah.
But that gives that person and everybody else a
Gives the
chance to
council an
run.
option. They don't have to do a special election, give them the option to do a special election.
No, this one's gonna
This
require.
is
special
required,
election.
just like,
Yeah,
like right now requires
Okay,
them to appoint, we want to require them to.
So we made changes to this
Interim,
one,
that's
Greg,
fine.
back in 2003, but that was, I think, to do, what was it?
What happened is when they, in 2003, was that when we went to district?
No.
No, so I don't remember. I can go back and find out. I seriously do not remember what they did to that, because they did.
Well, what happened is when we
amended.
went to districts, we gave all the guys on there an extra year.
Well, that we had to. We
Yeah,
had no choice.
to make it go back on the schedule.
Right. We have to, because we can't shorten it. It's a
Yeah.
constitutional
And so,
violation of
and
your.
so one guy got
office.
appointed, then got an extra year and then ran unopposed. And this is the problem with
Yeah.
the selection process.
But I don't remember what we did.
Guy went on there
section.
10 years and never ran for election.
But people have run opposed, or unopposed recently,
Yeah, I
even
agree.
without being appointed,
I know, but-
people have.
I think the mayoral appointment was thrown in here
Oh, you think so?
in 2003. I'll have to go back and look. I don't.
What's it say? What's it say?
I believe you're correct.
Because, and I think the reason why was we had a situation where they didn't know what was gonna happen. What do you do if they don't make the appointment? Then it sits vacant and that's not a good thing.
Oh.
So they put in the mayor, because I don't remember, that's an unusual term too, I think. I mean,
But it makes sense to
Yeah.
keep
Yeah,
your
we had a
votes
mayor-
dying out and everybody
mayor-
arguing.
So, and then we did change, in 2014, there were changes made to allow for a little bit longer vacancy, for sicknesses.
Yeah, I was on that one because they said it was like 30 days and I said, listen, what if a guy takes a cruise on the
Right.
ship and everything and you know.
So we gave 90.
Yeah, I remember that.
I did that change.
You can get on, you can't do a council meeting by Zoom or something like that.
This is in the olden.
And then we didn't have.
More technology.
Yes.
And I was a big. I
But you could, if you had to notice it at your house and let anybody show up. in your
I
house
don't remember,
to sit
but
with you.
somebody wasn't showing up. And that was the get. Do you have something
There's
written?
a motion.
Yeah,
I
so she wrote as I spoke,
Okay.
And so- yeah,
Shall the charter be amended to require council vacancies be filled by special election and allow council appointment to fill the seat until that next election?
I would flip that. And do the appointment first. And then talk about
Okay.
special.
just, yeah.
Why?
Well, just this is the ballot, right? This is what the people are gonna read.
Yeah, or this.
So shall the council be allowed to appoint until a special election and be required to cause a special election?
Appointment is the current process.
You got it, but it implies that we're not changing anything. We're just gonna do another appointment.
Backwards, but he wants to flip it.
I bet I'll get shot down. What do you wanna bet?
Not that, no,
See,
that's.
until.
Just a suggestion, don't get all emotional.
No, it's okay. I'm gonna do my own anyway. and I'm not gonna get a vote on that one either.
Until,
We're putting checks, not.
I think they're gonna probably change it anyway, but.
it's a little harder.
It's
It's
just
trying
giving
to,
them
it's
something to think.
It's harder to word
harder to
it.
word it this way.
It's harder to word
I-
it.
you know,
Yeah.
I want you to go there and that way, you know, if they can ask our opinion or something,
To
you know,
fill the
they can get up
seat.
there and kind of explain their thinking.
So actually, you would say, you almost could say shall the charter be amended to require that the council fill the seat and
Temporarily.
temporarily and call a special
Election,
election
Or call for a special.
call for a
What
special
is the
election.
funding
as
for,
soon as possible,
Yeah.
what is the funding for a special?
as soon as
election?
feasible.
From all of our tax dollars.
General.
General?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes. What's democracy worth, guys?
Only
I've always said-
20 something grand.
That's 7.7, 2,000.
Until a special election
Can be held.
could be held as soon as feasible thereafter or something to that.
Yeah.
And then we can specifically later put in
They can choose.
the time frame. They can, yeah.
It's probably good for them to set the time frame.
That's what I'm saying. That comes after this. We're not setting that by.
Well, it could be set in the charter even with this language. I think you can.
And we might even make a note of whoever did the staff report that, hey, you know, well, we.
And I
didn't leave it.
like the 3 months and 6 months.
I think that's funny.
That allows people the time to run. We're also saying the person who's appointed gets an opportunity to run so they can gear up in the community or that district has the ability
Well,
to
you're not
vet
supposed to-
their candidate.
An entire election is really supposed to be about 6 months, you know, anyway.
So Julie, just confirm, we do not have a number 7, right?
That's it.
Like to put
All right.
on the next agenda.
Wait, we haven't voted on this one yet.
Oh, sorry.
Would you like so I've got
Do you
two,
still want it
I have
flipped?
alternatives.
She
and-
she flipped it for
I
you, but I like mine, so we'll just put it
That's
on.
fine. No, that's fine.
Well, I'm gonna read it just so you guys know what it
Got
says. So it would be, shall the charter be amended to require council appointment to fill the seat temporarily and call a special election as soon as feasible thereafter?
Okay.
That would be the flipping of
It's
it.
feasible.
Yeah.
That gives them opportunity.
Feasible is a little-
It's not
Yeah, they-
feasible.
Well, the feasibility would then play into whether or not you're gonna do it with a.
As soon as they are able.
Either, right, it's because, well,
Does that give them an out? to
what
not
if you
do it?
have what if you have a state?
No.
No, well, first of all, we could, this is just the measure, the language will be more specific.
Yeah.
So I read this, I'm gonna put the 60 or 90 to 180 day window into it, so I need to work on the actual legislation here.
Unless an election's gonna fall in that window.
And then that's something you.
But I can do that in light of what I've heard here, so I'll do that, and maybe Alex,
Is
I
there a
can.
motion on the floor?
go look at it.
Well, if you don't.
She
And I'll-
I'll give you
if you wanted to.
I have my version.
Well, no,
on
I'm
one
gonna
that
keep
flips,
you
so
on
she
it.
can
Okay,
have.
I
I like both
Yeah.
of them, but I'd like the council to have the
I
opportunity.
just want to hear it flip. I'm not going down with the ship on it. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to send
Both
both of those versions to the council.
I'll second.
Scott seconded.
All right.
Member Clayton Dignam,
Yes.
member Taha Saleh,
Right. Sorry.
Sorry.
Nay.
member Tom O'Sullivan,
Yeah, I'm still a nay. I'm a yes.
member Scott Bowler,
Yes.
Chairman Greg Shelton.
Yes. Now, I have my own that I'm gonna see if I can get some votes on. Shall the citizens of the Board of a vote to allow that any unoccupied council seat must be filled by a special election that must occur no sooner than 90 days and no later than 180 days from the date the seat was vacated. The city council shall still have the right to appoint a temporary replacement for the seat until said special election has been held. Kind of.
I like it, but I- I think
And
it's-
if you would have read that first, I would have
I'll
put all
second-
three on that.
I'll second that. Is that a motion?
Yeah.
I'll second the motion.
Okay,
So we're gonna vote to send Grace.
no, you send them all. I'm gonna send
Yeah,
them
let's
all.
wait.
Those two are
Those
going.
are going, but yeah.
And Tom's gonna, in. Shall the citizens of Porterville vote to allow that any unoccupied council seat must be filled by a special election that must occur no sooner than 90 days and no later than 180 days from the date the seat was vacated. The city council shall still have the right to appoint a temporary replacement for the seat until said special election has been held.
So you're saying an election has to happen within the 90 days?
Yes.
So he's putting the time in there. No, he's saying it
90
can't be held within 90 days.
No, yeah.
It's between 90 and 6
Yeah.
months.
That's
So-
within 90 days.
No, it says no sooner than 90 days.
Okay.
But within
And
180.
No later than 180 days.
So Tom and I are not putting the time frame
Right.
in there. We want the time frame to be in the actual charter,
That's it.
but not in what the voters are gonna vote on, the specific. Greg wants the specific
Is there
number.
a motion on the floor for
No,
that?
it's already been said.
I'm looking for a motion.
It was
I'll give you the
your motion, he seconded
seconded
it,
it.
yeah,
Okay, then let's call for a vote.
Yeah.
Member Clayton Dignam,
yes.
member Taha Saleh,
Oh,
He's,
member Tom O'Sullivan.
I would assume that he's.
Sorry, that was nay.
No, yeah.
Okay.
Money.
Member Scott Bowler,
Yes.
Chairman Greg Shelton.
Yes. Does that pass?
Yes.
Yes,
All right, so I'm gonna move this along.
I will do the homework and figure out what all that means.
Well, if you get stumped on it, do just call me or send me an email.
Taha's not opposed.
Well, no, I wanna know, I wanna make sure that 6 months, I think 6 months should be
If not, we'll
reasonable.
make it,
It will make, but it will have implications on cost, so
well, then make it 8 months and that's.
Well, that's what I mean. I'll let you guys know if it's like ridiculous, if it's gonna be something we don't wanna have to,
All right, we got.
The county's watching this right now going, cha-ching.
yeah.
Yeah, they got lobbyists, right?
Hopefully provides a big incentive for people not to create vacancies.
Right.
So,
Well, it sure makes it harder for them to game the system.
yeah.
Other matters,
yeah.
Councilman?
Yeah, I think, we talked about, selecting or voting on a vice chair.
Yes. I'm gonna bring that.
Because so many of your motions got turned into, it's probably important if we do have a vice chair.
Okay,
And
I'm
next
gonna,
agenda,
would you like to make a motion?
we'll put it on the next agenda.
Okay, but, for the next agenda.
Yep.
Selection of a vice chair in case someone die.
case there's a vacancy in the chair.
Yeah. Must be filled within so many days.
Excused or unexcused.
Anybody, you got anything, Tom?
Other matters?
Yeah, something on the agenda or something.
We have to vote on
I don't think so. That's just a.
No, that's just to put it on the
Just
agenda.
on other matters, just an opportunity to revisit that, I'm drawing a blank right now, the charter for our election process. I think that does actually need to clean up, or if it's just okay the way it is.
So it's
But,
Okay, until somebody
Overview.
decides they're.
yeah, so I
Right,
like.
board system at large. I mean, I think it's effectively okay. I mean, that's why I looked at it is that we can't enforce something that is, considered at this point, at least right now under state law to be against the law potentially. So I just don't like it sitting there because I know that,
big matzo ball.
right, exactly, it's just there, but
That's
And-
another matter.
things may change if things
Well, I-
change,
Well, I think another matter is gonna come back anyway, because I'm hoping they're gonna look, I wanna take this to them now, Julia, and then,
Because if you guys are so, if we get these done, then you
Right.
still have time, right?
I was gonna say, they kick them back, and that brings another point up, and I don't wanna interject too here, but you talked about wanting to do some more stuff. If we get this done fast enough, we could offer, well, Tom's gonna look at me glaring at me. We're gonna be offered to do something else, maybe the cleanup, we could revisit the cleanup.
Or at least a
provision.
few cleanups, right?
Yeah, just because we're running ahead of
Charter
schedule.
cleanup.
Clayton, you got anything?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Scott, you got anything?
No.
I would like, what's the gentleman that's our alternate that never shows up?
Jacob,
Yeah,
Jacob Belay.
he showed up a couple times.
Yeah.
Showed up at least once.
When?
He did.
He was
Yeah,
here when we were across the
He
street.
did.
one time.
He was an alternate.
Yeah, well, but it's an alternate if you're not here. I would like to put on the agenda whether or not we can, get some alternates either more involved or something else, you know what I mean? I thank him for his service and if you'd like to stay on, you can contact me, but I mean, you guys are here. We got, I don't know if you heard the council, you guys were there, they were complaining about how they couldn't get chairmen from committees to show up and we are on our game.
You're there every time.
Well, I'm not-
Has anybody reached out to him?
No, I don't
Email
think
for
they did.
meetings?
No, but I don't, at this point, and we can reach out to them, but the reality is.
So are you want an opinion or a determination that we are able to, so we could vote on it at the
well,
next?
so the council actually makes the determinations as to who's on the charter committee, and who's on the alternate, so you can request that the council.
I would like to
Consider
consider.
it.
Yeah, okay.
So the alternate, so
Yeah.
if he was here tonight, he would be involved in the.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah, because Don's not here, he would be voting on for her.
Yeah.
Who picked him?
We picked two alternates, but the other
Council
alternate
did.
really is involved. If he's not here, that's Blaine Smotherman. He's on a Zoom call for us.
It's 6. But what's our rule for even? Do you
Well,
get
you
to
have a
break?
quorum, so.
No, we have,
Yeah.
But if we got to 6 and we split things.
No, it's
Well,
five.
what we're asking is for them to.
I know they're 5, but if he was here tonight, we'd have 6.
We have 6.
And we went 3.
One of Greg's motions, oh no, none of Greg's motions.
I might have got a third vote.
So would you get like the tiebreak? Is that how that works? If 3-3?
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
If not, I guess it
Three,
just
three,
dies.
motion fails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whoever's on the prevailing side can bring it back.
That would make this meeting a little bit longer.
So I'm good the way it is. Why you gotta, why
Because
you
there would
gotta,
be,
you gotta mix
because
things
there
up?
would be more, well, but if Dawn was here tonight,
Yeah. It would be helpful to have.
yeah.
Hey, God,
I
what's this?
just want someone that's engaged, man.
I got you.
You're here, Tom.
Got you.
You're all busy. All right. Is there anything else? And I'm gonna do something unusual with the count, with the consent and ask if any of the.
You want to do a second oral communication?
Really quick before you do that, just mentioned, I also have information for you on because you had asked me about ballot measure.
Yeah, how
do and
much we
don'ts.
can choose them.
So, I can do, this meeting's been long enough, so we don't need to go into all that tonight, but I can provide you with it, and then if you have questions or you want me to come talk about it.
That, you can't do 1 hour,
Or I can provide you a report that goes in the
no,
next agenda.
unless you want the billable hours, what I would rather do is this.
I don't need them.
Let's just see what the council does with this, because
Okay.
rather than trying to anticipate something, they may throw all these out.
Well,
not
there's
like it.
time to talk about that. You had asked me, and so
Yeah, I know, but I'm gonna see, because they might throw this out and then it throws for a loop and we might have to go a different direction. So we instead of doing all that work, we see where we go with this.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion, we allow for a second oral communications. Is there anything else?
Second thought.
Gonna vote?
All right.
I'm in favor.
All right, well,
Yeah, you can procedurally do that. It's fine. You can just read.
Okay, well, is it good enough? We don't need to
No.
document. Anybody want to say anything? Take a couple shots at us?
all that energy in that.
I just have a question. Educate me. What's it mean to fire without cause? to me, that means like without a reason, just because you feel like it, there's a personality conflict or something like that.
No, what it
It's
means.
gotta be more to
Well,
it than that.
so so there's, in any public agency, you have employees that are, you're right there, so there's a certain, like, what we refer to them as rank and file, right? The rank and file employees have like a civil liberty or civil interest, a liberty interest in their position. For department heads and directors and the city manager and the city attorney, we do not have that luxury. We are just like private business employees. We can be fired at will, which yes, that means we can be fired for any reason. So and that's already the way it is.
That's already
That
the way it
exists
is.
now. So the city manager has that ability to do that. Now, that being said, you cannot fire for an illegal reason. You cannot fire for a discriminatory reason, and you cannot file for retaliation.
Right.
You know, if somebody's, doing, for, but any kind, those are considered illegal reasons to fire. So there still are protections under the Constitution and under the law, but you are treated like, you're treated as basically like an executive. You know, that's your executive team. And so you don't have the same interest. That's the same in the state. It's the same in the federal government. And so it also travels down to the city. So that's what that means.
And my understanding too is like, if you had a contract, basically, and I, there's things in your contract that you have to live up to. And if I fire you for a reason that's not in your contract, then I can't do that. I have to have
Right, there can be
cause.
further limitations
Yeah,
too.
so it's a protection for, to try to people not, to fire you because they didn't like you. But at the same time, without cause, it saves you a big, ugly, bloody fight to be able to get rid of an employee that maybe is not performing as good as they should be.
Okay.
You got anything, Ms. Mike?
I appreciate being able to be here and listen. I would encourage all of you to be a true citizens advisory committee and not be tied to any particular council person or their policies or their ideology, because you need to do what's best for the city. I spent from 1979 to 1995 working for this city. I was a wastewater treatment plant operator. I was a lab in charge of the lab. I was the purchasing agent, and I've worked for multiple agencies, and I think Visalia has the best model to have a citizens advisory committee that helps the citizens have an input. And I think that's important. That's representative democracy. I don't care what anybody says. This is a democracy, and people need to have a voice, and we're not getting a lot of that right now. So I really appreciate that we can come here, and I appreciate that you gave a second oral communication. That's important, Greg.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm gonna ask you a weird question. How did we do? Did we sound like we were anybody's,
Well, I would tell you, I heard a little bit of that, but I did hear deliberation. And I don't know what process you guys went through. My understanding was, though, that all of these were sent by the council to you. So they were proposed by the council rather than the council saying, here's the charter, look at it and see what you think should be amended in it as a citizen. I think that's more valuable, especially if you have people who are qualified, who've participated in city government, who understand the ins and outs. I was talking to Clayton, that procurement threshold, when I was here, and I left in 1995 as the purchasing agent and went to Visalia, and I also worked at the city of Bakersfield, who's far more backwards than the city.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is a very cumbersome
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
You can't act fast. The procurement threshold has to increase if you want the city to be effective. And so that is a good one. Even performing street maintenance work and all of that other stuff is good, as long as the people who are that there's no favoritism shown in any of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the hiring and firing of city employees, I'm telling you, it makes me a little nervous, because councils come, councils go, councils have personality conflicts with people, they influence people, and I don't think that's a good model. I think our city has operated well on the city manager model
Sure.
for 100 years, right? And so I have my opinions and other people have their opinions, but what I value tonight was the ability to have some input and the ability to have a second set of comments after things were discussed. I think you guys did a good job.
I would think, and I would encourage you to come, because those very comments you just said, that needs to be done at the time when the council discusses it, you know what I mean?
You
And
know I'll be there.
no, I know. Is you can, yeah, but you can talk now with authority. Since I went to that, I heard this, I sat there for 2 hours and listened to this. So I'm not just talking off my head. I heard this and you saw these guys here. No one tells anybody what to do in this committee, you know what I mean? They tell me what they're gonna do. So anyway, and I appreciate it. That's very kind of you.
And I hear what you say about not being aligned with them, but understand that we are very different. We may agree with some of them on some things. That does not mean that we wholeheartedly agree with them on everything. And so some of us, yeah, some of us are maybe a little more conservative and have a little different ideas, you know?
But
So-
that's what makes our city, functional when people have
Absolutely.
input, right?
Absolutely
And the
agree.
ideas are thrown.
But I like about this debate, do you see anybody here get mad at anybody, call anybody a name?
No, and it's nice.
Yeah, it is.
It's nice not to be called an old white liberal with Munchausen by proxy. I'm just saying, I'm not a voice in the city that I've lived in for 50 years, that's all.
You know,
Well, and I think to answer that question too about are we just doing what they want? I think Greg kind of answered that a little bit earlier when he said, if we get this done and give it to them, maybe they will like it and like what we've done and then come back to us and ask us
to do some more.
for to do more.
Right.
And that was kind of our goal from the beginning was we wanted to get this started early. We knew we are under a time crunch to get this on a ballot. We don't want it to drag out a long time. So this is good that we're moving forward with this and that they're encouraging us to do it.
It is, it's refreshing that you move forward.
Scott, you were gonna say something?
It just boils down to, setting it up to what the people want. Cause it all boils, we're not voting on any of these right now, we're just, finding out what we want to put on, the ballot for the people to vote on.
Right.
And I hope you stay involved. I hope you consider getting on one of these committees with us.
Well, I will. He's on the library committee.
Yeah, I saw that. And I like the library. I'm a big library fan. So like I'm saying, but it's a process and you gotta fight and you gotta get there and, so anyway, thank you for the kind words, all of you. Thanks for being, very cordial and getting involved. I'd felt bad if you didn't say anything about, oh, man. So anyway, thank you again.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's never gonna happen. You're helpful.
I'll second
So
that.
you got something? Somebody else was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
One quick thing on the first provisions related to municipal elections.
Yeah.
Is that a no-go or?
You're talking about the voter
The
ID?
very first one, the voter ID thing.
Well, it's going to them just because they wanted it, but
Yeah,
Okay.
it's going to them because they wanted it, but
In looking at the italicized stuff that was written in here on item number A2, the eligibility of electors by voter identification with the requirements adopted by ordinance, or as otherwise permitted or required by federal and state constitution. I got a real problem with that because they can do all kinds of crap with ordinances that may or may not even fall under the purview of state and federal law. That's where the jeopardy is for this thing, is what they're going to.
so whatever they
Personal.
adopt by ordinance will be constrained by the constitutional law on it. So, because we are, by virtue of the charter city status, so we can't, we are limited, we aren't all powerful, we're not a sovereign, right? So we have to abide absolutely by state and federal constitutional law. This is a constitutional issue. It's becoming a constitutional issue. It's gonna, and I think so what we're, I think there will ultimately be answers at the state and or federal level on this at some point. That all being said, the other thing that constrains us is when things are or are not deemed to be a matter of local concern. So state laws that are found to be of statewide concern, we have to follow. And that is where we are right now with the elections code that actually prohibits this. So the elections code actually says this is a matter, voter identification requirements is a matter of statewide concern. That's actually what Huntington Beach is trying to fight and lost on. So you are right that if the law is found to say that it isn't a matter and it's local concern, then you're right, the council can do whatever. And so that obviously the people have a voice in this by whether or not they want to approve that measure and in that circumstance. Because there is a circumstance where it could be implemented, if the law is overturned in California, And, or if the, you know, the Supreme Court, the US Supreme Court weighs in on it and finds that it's okay, there are circuits that have found in other states that it's okay. At some point, it could very well be something the US Supreme Court takes up because there's a difference in how the circuits are. I don't think the Ninth Circuit is probably would uphold it necessarily, but you never know.
Julia,
So, yeah,
but if the council does do whatever, it is by ordinance, and that ordinance doesn't happen without a public hearing.
right. Doesn't happen without a public hearing and it still has to withstand legal scrutiny is my
Right.
point ultimately. It still has to be constitutional. You can't violate, and it still has to be not in violation of a law in California that is found to be of statewide concern.
The thing about voter ID laws that worry me, I don't want anybody voting who doesn't have a right to vote. But as a married woman now, that's not the name I was born with, right? And so if I'm well off enough that I could go get a birth certificate, I have a passport, I have all of those things. But there are a lot of women who will not be able to do that and they will be excluded from the ability to vote. I mean, that is a practical reality of some of these voter ID laws, as well as poor people who can't afford to.
Poll tax, remember, and Jim
Exactly,
close out.
it's kind of a
Yeah.
poll tax in a way. You're exactly right. And that's the thing that I struggle with. I don't think there's any American in this country that says, I want somebody who's not a United States citizen to vote. But I am a United States citizen. And if I could not gather the documentation or did not have the documentation to prove who I was, I wouldn't be able to vote. And so I think that's a consideration that has to be taken.
No, and I get that,
Even if the city sets that law, right, under legal.
but I don't think they can. I'm kind of ambivalent on the whole issue. But my point also, what I'm trying to stop now is not for us to sit here and then spend a bunch of time on something that's really gonna above our pay grade.
Exactly.
Let's see what happens.
Right.
And if it happens, I guess we'll worry about it then. But if it doesn't, then we just sit there and wrung our hands for months and months.
No, I agree with you on that. I'm
So,
just giving you.
You kind of saw that from this committee. They're like, let's see what happens first.
Give their perspective on things that very often and make people understand that you will have minorities and you'll have women excluded from being able to vote. And that's why that kind of law or others that maybe they're fighting, it's because it's a real valid reason. So let the council choose. I mean, because ultimately they're going to have to support it and they're the ones who are going to be under fire for whatever they do.
And this is one of the best arguments that you've given, you know, and it needs to be heard out there. And I haven't heard this argument before. And this is the first time I've heard it. Very well, very rational, very, you know, so this needs to be set up there when this comes there. You know what I mean?
I've got, when you guys first proposed all of this, I was on it. I have 21 pages.
Notes.
No, I do. I have 21 pages in very small font arguments for and against all of the charter amendments that all 40, whatever of them were.
Don't you wish you'd have waited till you got done with the form? He's been on.
Masters in public administration.
I'm all like, okay, you know, before I worry about that, let me get it down because I hate to prepare this big thing and think, well, at least you can do it fight me on it. I went through all the work, you know what I mean? Well, then you need to be on the next committee. All right, is that it? Anything else, anybody?
Thanks for the input.
Hey, thanks for being, for showing up and participating. I'm glad you really did. If you left her quiet, I thought, oh man, what they're gonna say about me now. All right, I heard a meeting.
Nice people, Greg.
No, you.
Trust me.
All right, guys.
Was that good looking? I did that so we would.